Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of In My Cousin's Basement. We are in your cousin's basement, not mine, but yours. Haha. Anyway, I'm your host, your ghost host with the most, Tim Patrick, and with me always is the barf, even though he's not fat, to me being Lone Star, Rando. As I make a mess again.
What's up, Tim?
Same old shit, different old piles. How about you, sir?
Same stuff, different day. It feels good to be back on the old podcast.
Dude,
with
how
you.
long has it been? 3 months?
I'd say about 3 months,
It was around
yeah.
Christmas time.
Yeah, it was around Christmas time and year-end wrap-up, I'd say. We were kind of doing our predictions for this year and what we liked about last year and what we hated about last
Has
year.
anything happened yet?
Huh?
Has anything happened of those yet?
I'd say so far these first couple months have been kind of strange.
Yeah.
I'd say, typical Missouri weather, folks, if you're in
We've
Missouri.
had every single weather this week or this past couple weeks. Tornadoes, snow, hail, rain, sunny as fuck, 80s. And
Yeah.
It's like, dude.
Yeah, today is supposed to be like 70 and like
Yeah.
nice breeze and just like no humidity, feels perfect. And then then we're going back to freezing rain and stuff. And the week before we had flurries one morning, snow one day. Then we had like 70s out the next day. I'm like, no wonder everyone keeps getting sick. You know, my allergies are driving me nuts right now.
I was gonna ask you about that. Yeah.
But yeah, it's been weird. It's like every time I want to go outside and like start like I guess kind of doing like spring stuff, like kind of not doing spring cleaning, but like spring cleaning for my yard, like started picking up stuff, doing dad stuff, and
you're getting the rake out, but then sometimes you got to bring the shovel back out.
Yeah, it was weird, man. I went in my backyard and started doing something. The next morning I woke up and it was snowing, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, why are we getting this? But climate change, I don't know. I mean, we have to be going through some type of climate thing.
Well, you've lived here your entire life, so I mean, that's you're used to it. That's all it is. It's just not just climate change like that. It's just the weather.
Yeah, and we do have some wild weather here. I guess being right in the middle of the country, that's kind of what happens. But some guys I think we said this before. It was like, welcome to Missouri. You wake up in the morning and it's freezing, like it's snow. By mid-afternoon, it's fall. By the afternoon, it's spring, and then back to, the end of the day.
If you don't like the St. Louis weather, wait 10 minutes. Something like that,
Something like that, yeah.
Of course, they say that about everything, though.
That's true, but I do feel like our weather has gotten, well, we've said this before, but it does seem like the months have gotten a little weirder. Like, usually on my birthday, which is in March, it's usually rainy and cold, and it was 80 degrees on my birthday, the first time, ever after St. Patty's Day. I was like, what?
Remember a couple years ago, like I said this so many times over Christmas was 2023. Was it? Yeah, it was 65 on Christmas and like 25 on Halloween.
Yeah, that was weird. That was a weird time where it's usually
opposite.
Yes,
or
sometimes
cooling off on at least not cold like it.
I always feel like Halloween's either you get rainy, cold. And that's it, or windy,
Right, but not 65.
No,
or not 65. Sorry,
25.
Cold as it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I was walking around. We couldn't even wear our costumes. You had to wear costumes underneath a huge coat. So it's just what it is. But
if you guys hear Corky in the background, I apologize.
Yeah, it's our dog.
He doesn't shut up.
It's Tim's new dog.
Yeah, no, it's not mine.
It's an adopted dog.
Yeah, it better not be.
It's adopted child. Yeah. So
what's the topic?
What is the topic?
No, you tell me.
The topic today is we are going to discuss movies created by, but with the lead actor of the movies. So, for example, like we're going to do a movie about, or 3 movies about John Candy and 3 movies from Ed Norton. And we just pick 3 random ones that we enjoy and kind of just talk off the cuff about it. And
ones we can talk to you for like 3 hours.
Yeah, we're gonna go through and like rate it and talk about our favorite parts and things
this
that
is our opinions, by the way.
Yeah, these are our opinions. We don't really care about IMDb and other people's opinions. At the end of the day, I mean, you're gonna like what you're gonna like. You're gonna hate what you're gonna hate, and that's just what it is. We could pull all that other people's junk and stuff up, but why do that? I mean, as people who are movie buffs, I feel like that's the whole point of being like a movie buff, because there's always going to be movies that you like and enjoy that other people aren't going to enjoy, or vice versa, right? I would say, I'm not going to say that ratings don't matter. I think it does to an extent. Like, there's good movies and people give it good feedback and good stuff, but for the most part, I would say everybody's gonna have a different opinion on movies. I mean, fuck. I mean, I love Harry Potter, and you hate Harry Potter. You know, so it's like, but it's fine. And it's like there's gonna be certain movies that you like that I don't like, and that's why people
opinions.
That's why they have genres of movies, and that's why people have them. Exactly.
Yeah. You know, opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one. Nobody wants to listen to them.
That's true too. I guess I'll kick it off, and I'll do the first one with Edward Norton. So I consider one of my top actors that I like. He's not my favorite actor, but he's in a lot of great movies that I like growing up in the 90s and 2000s. And even to this day, I think he still does great work. He's not in many movies as he used to be, or like TV shows.
Yeah, I noticed that.
But I feel like that happens to a lot of good actors. They kind of fall off and they pick and choose now because he's so big. He's like, I can pick and choose what I want.
Yeah, I can do whatever ones I want, and that's the problem with some of them because some of them pick the greatest movie and then there makes millions and millions of dollars, but then other movies just flop.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some like underrated ones, even ones that people don't even know about. It's like, dude, he was in that, really?
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. And you notice like the ones that are trying to get their name out there, they take anything and everything.
Oh yeah,
it doesn't matter if they're kids, movies or whatever, and they just try to get out there so they can come on like a household or family name,
right?
You know,
or even then you have the other side of this double-edged sword. You have like Samuel Jackson, who's in everything.
Yeah, I one day when that guy passes away,
it's gonna be hard.
It's going to be hard, but I'm also going to think about his laundry list of movies, from cameos to things he's voiced over and everything he's done. Yeah. I don't think there's an actor that beats him. Maybe Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, I was going to say Kevin Bacon probably, but voiceovers and stuff like that, yeah, he's got that beat, and cartoons and what have you. But it's going to be hard with him, and there's another actor I was thinking. I can't think of what I had it just a second ago of another actor that is in everything. It doesn't say no, basically.
Morgan Freeman?
Yeah, he could be one too.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just that's their work ethic. You know, they want to be in everything, not just if they're making money. They do saying do what you love what you do.
Sam Jackson's in commercials. He's in everything, right? You know, this is what it is. Sam Jackson, it's my beer.
It's my beer, bitch. I talk like this. This is the way I talk.
Make you want to fight him, too.
That's some good shit.
Dave Chappelle, man. Yeah, got to throw his name out
there. Yeah, we got to
there.
throw him out there. An episode on him sometime.
Yeah. Real quick, what I was going to say was, guys like Sam Jackson, some of those other people, there's not many actors like them anymore. And, a lot of people don't like them, which is fine. But one thing I was going to say about him was really cool, and then I'll go to our topic, was I found out the other day that the only way he was going to be in Star Wars, and I'm not a huge Star Wars guy, but I like when he's in Star Wars, is if...
The lightsaber thing?
Yeah, the lightsaber thing. If he got his own purple lightsaber, because there was none in the universe, and he's still the only guy to this day that has one.
Do you know why he got the purple one? Or why he wanted the purple one? Not just because it's his favorite color?
I can't remember the point, but I remember...
He wanted to stick out so his niece or whoever was watching it knew that he was over there doing that.
I thought there was another point to it in the movie.
Just that.
They said like the only way to achieve purple was or something other thing.
They
put in there too.
A special extra special special effects or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Because the green and the blue and the red are just basic.
Yeah, green and red.
Yeah. Or
blue. That's right. It depended on where you were, apprentice or whatever you're doing. So, anyway, we'll move on from Star Wars and all that stuff. So, my first movie I chose for Ed Norton is Rounders.
Ooh,
now I know.
Love that movie.
I know you love it. I love it too.
Tony KGB, man.
It's one of those movies. I'm not joking. My wife gets pissed off at me because every time it's on TV, I fucking put it on.
Yeah, why not, dude? It's fucking great.
I've always been a big poker guy. Yeah. I love No Limit, Texas Hold'em. The round this movie when it came out was like the pinnacle hype in the 2000s of.
Well, some of them were in there. I think when Daniel Negreanu or some couple people were actually in it. The movie, weren't they?
Not Daniel Negreanu, who wasn't, but
that's right. Negreanu was in Wolverine.
Yeah, he was in Wolverine, but Johnny Cage makes appearance. Not Johnny Cage, but Johnny Cage.
Johnny Chan.
Johnny Chan.
Wrong genre.
Sorry. Shout out to Johnny Cage. Johnny Chan was in it, and then obviously Ed Norton, and then Matt Damon. Obviously, great actors.
Dude, Mark Landau was in it. He was his mentor.
Yeah.
You had John Malkovich.
Yep.
I mean, he was Kenny KGB.
Yep.
I would express the putt.
Yeah, he plays that part. He plays that part perfect.
Dude, I remember the first time I saw that movie, and I knew he was bluffing when he was playing with his Oreos.
Yeah. I mean, his tell or whatever was going on.
Yeah,
it was cool at the beginning of the movie where he talks about like being in the World Series of Poker and like understanding the game and going in there and he's playing at high stakes or whatever. And he's at that table and he gets beat, and like his world came like crashing down because he kind of had to choose like, okay, do I choose my wife or do I choose poker, right? Or my girlfriend at the time, whatever it was, and
fiance, I think.
Yeah, whatever
whatever she was.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, long story short, so it was cool. Like the opening is great. It like sucks you in right away. Like the hook, you want to call it the hook or whatever you want to call it. And then from there, he find out that he's going to law school with his girlfriend or fiance, and he's working as like a UPS driver. Yeah, delivering packages or dropping shit off or whatever. And then it's pretty cool right at the beginning. Like he walks in. He's friends with the judge, and they're playing the judge's game, and he reads their hand blind. And he's like, look, summer clerkship. I know. Put my name at the top of your list or whatever he said. Or he's like, I'll put your name at the top of the list. He's like, I can read your hand blind and tell what everybody's got. And he's like, bullshit. And he tells them. And he's like, all right, first job, and Simon's sitting right next to me.
It's like, dude. Anybody could read anybody like that. It's fucking amazing.
Yeah,
I know it's just a movie, but still.
I know it's just a movie, but no, there's guys that really can.
Yeah,
really.
Negreanu can do that shit all the time.
I think Daniel. Yeah, he's one of my favorite guys to watch. He's a guy that you can see he guesses cards and kind of knows what's going on. He can tell the tells, and the great poker players can. And he says that in the movie. He's like, there's not a reason. I mean, there's a reason why the same 10 guys are at the final poker table at the time. It's not luck. It's skill, right? And most people say it's like, sure. In any sport or anything, there's some luck. You catch some lucky cards and stuff, but most of it you're out playing the guy.
Exactly.
And it's very mental. That's why I always liked it because it was it's not just about the cards. You can outplay somebody just off the fact that you're just better than them.
It's a psychology thing.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you can actually say I'm better than you as a professional.
Yeah. And one thing I loved about the movie was it really opened up people's eyes in the world. Like mainstream people, like, hey, poker's a real thing. Like, it's not just where people go and they're degenerates and gamble. Like, not saying that isn't a thing. That is a thing with all gambling, but they're not really doing it for the gambling. They do it for the pride and they want to win. And obviously, the money is great. It is.
And then some of the people you get like Chris Moneymaker who just come off right off the streets and play in the World Series and win it that fucking year. Whatever, 2003.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be the random luck of the draw. And Chris Moneymaker, he won one, and after that, I don't think he won a tournament after that.
No, he won tournaments, but he didn't win any
big ones.
The big ones like that.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, because he had to keep his bankroll going.
Yeah, and you got guys like Phil Ivey who just win and win and win. He's been banned. The guy's got banned from like 10 casinos.
Oh yeah, I believe it.
He'll walk in and he'll play and
blow everybody away. Take everybody's money.
No, he'll walk in and start playing, and they'll tell him he has to get out because he's a professional poker player because he can read cards and do their stuff. And they're like,
Chris Ferguson's another good one.
Chris Ferguson, Jesus,
yep. What was that other guy? The one my favorite one, the Unabomber guy.
Got the cigarette in his mouth.
No, he always had his hoodie, glasses on. His head closes.
Oh
his
hoodie on. And
Jennifer Tilly's boyfriend.
Yeah, and he closed his hoodie when he was playing sometimes.
Yeah,
he's cool.
That's the Unabomber.
Yeah.
Who was,
there's a lot of great ones.
Professor, I think was that Johnny Chan.
No. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay. There's a lot. The musician, a couple other ones, and just.
There's a guy that always reminded me of Ari Gold that was on there. he always he was.
Oh fuck! What was his name?
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
He was actually pretty good, but he's a cocksucker. I never like watching him and stuff. But there's a lot of great ones.
The Mouth. Who's Phil Hellmuth?
Phil Hellmuth. Oh yeah. And you got Doyle Brunson that was in there, a bunch of guys or whatever. I mean, he's dead now.
Yeah.
But yeah, the one thing that I loved about this movie too is like. This was the hype during ESPN when the World Series of Poker was on all the time. They played poker all the time on ESPN. And I would go home and when I was a kid in high school, whatever, and I would watch it all the time. I mean, I'd sit there getting high and just watch it.
Yeah.
Because it was interesting. Now, obviously, you wouldn't get the full fucking tournament, but you got like some of the top tables and you got to watch some of the top players. It was cool. Now, you have to go pay for some separate network to go watch these guys play poker, which is kind of sad. And the tournaments are still huge. Like, I got a couple buddies who go every year to Vegas. 10 grand or whatever and playing the World Series or some other ones. And then my sister's new boyfriend that's been around for like the last year, he said he was a semi-professional like pro poker player. I don't know how much I believe that.
Let's sit him down one day. Huh? Let's sit him down one day and play him.
Yeah. Well, he went to a tournament last couple times he's won. He's got like pretty close to the final table, but he's lost every single time. But he doesn't play as a full-time job anymore. He said he used to travel around and play as a full-time job.
Yeah.
And he went to World Series Poker and he didn't do too hot or whatever. But I mean, that's just the World Series Poker.
Oh, yeah.
It's like you're on fire or not. And if you get the big stack, you can bully everybody and do whatever. But anyway, go ahead.
I was gonna say, when I worked at Harris, they had That was when the World Series started blowing up. When Chris Moneymaker made like a special appearance and shit there.
I do remember that.
They had a thing where they it was an employee tournament where the winner got to play the actual Harrah's World Series of Poker tournament, whatever. I was second place. I lost to fucking a guy I got trips. Kings, I think it was. Guy lost or beat me with a fucking 2 of spades because his flush came out.
Oh, that sucks.
Like, motherfucker.
That sucks.
He had a fucking 2.
You know these big tournaments now, they have, if you play like no limit or whatever and you go into a table, they have bad beat pots.
Yeah. Harris had that for a while too.
Vegas had one, dude. It was up to $1 million.
The Harris one was huge. It was a couple $1 million, and the actual, the big, it was like the bad beat was almost as big as the jackpot.
Yeah,
that way.
And the bad beat has to be like
it had to be bad. Like if you got 4 kings and 4 aces beat you, it's like, oh, motherfucker.
Something like that, or like you're saying, like you got a flush and they got the bigger flush or something like that, and like they're like some of the hardest cards.
It can't be like a pair of 2, a trips beat pair of 2s. That ain't the shit.
No,
it's got to be some of the higher ones.
Yeah, and I asked the guy. He said it doesn't. That's why it's so high. It doesn't happen often. It's cards. It's just what it is. But going back to, we're talking about the movie.
We talk about poker forever.
No, we talk about it forever. Well,
we'll do a show about it.
I will say this real quick because I did go to the casino this week. I didn't tell you.
Nice.
With my buddy and his wife, and we went there, and Mayor Star Casino in Missouri. It's the biggest casino we have out here. Bigger. It is for sure. And they're changing stuff around. You've been there when they had. Do you remember Mayor Sports there?
Yeah.
The big sports bar or whatever. Yeah. Well, that's closed down now. Huh?
What?
Yeah, they had like a big wall in front of it. And what I was told was this like 4 or 5 years ago that they're going to open up their own sports book. I'm assuming that's going to turn to a sports book.
Yeah, because I think that's legal now. I think.
Well, it's not.
Well, it's legal in Illinois.
But it's not here in Missouri yet. But I think that's what they're going to do. Either they're doing that or they're building a new restaurant. But they did tell me that a sports book, as soon as it's done, it's coming. Like they'll spend millions of dollars to put it in there.
Yeah.
The cool thing was walking in. There was 2 things I liked about the Mayor Star. Like 8 years ago when I got married, 9 years ago. They had this pop-up game for craps. You ever remember the game Trouble? You had the dice in the middle, and you could press a button, pop it up. Okay. Well, in Vegas, they had this table. It was called craps. You could sit down. Minimum it's $5. You have a virtual fucking table in front of you, whatever, and you can push on the screen.
Sweet.
And then you had whoever's the roller hit the button to push or whatever, and it would tell you to push the button and pop it up, and everybody around the table could bet on their own bets or whatever. And so you don't have one big table where
basically you're not rolling the dice. You're playing Trouble.
Yeah, you're playing Trouble when you pop up the dice. Well, I was like, man, I can't wait to get this game in Ameristar, in Missouri. And I waited and waited and waited forever. And then during COVID, they finally got one. But it wasn't the kind of one that we wanted. It was like you sat down at a table, but there'd be like 10 tables, but there was like 10 games in front of you playing on. It was kind of like watching The Price is Right in front of you. There was someone at a table, because it was after COVID.
Yeah.
That was by themselves up there doing a blackjack table. One person rolling dice on the craps, but then they changed it to the bubble craps, and then they have the roulette table up there. Someone's spinning the wheel.
Yeah.
Well, they finally did a virtual wheel up there, and it spun the dice by itself, and then
cool.
But it's a real roulette table. It's just the ball sinks down and gets up and spins.
Gotcha.
And the same thing with the dice. You could sit down and play. I'm like, man, this isn't the same. So last week when I went, they actually have like 3 different variations of it. They have the same variation they had before. They have one where you can sit down and do the pop-up one or whatever, but the thing rolls on its own. No one else gets to push the button now. It just rolls. It just had a countdown. So people aren't fucking around, probably because people drink and fuck off.
Right.
Then they had a table you sat down at where it had 4 or 5 seats, but you had your own personal Trouble dice, but it was a smaller miniature version in front of you. So you get to push the button, pop it up. So I played that.
Okay.
So I put $100 in on the first one, and I won $20 or $30, and I went down. I was going back and forth, but I won like $30. And my buddy had to go do something real quick, so we're like, let's go walk around and go do some stuff. Played some slots, came back, and I was like, fuck it, I'm playing it again because I like the game, and I like craps. And dude, the minimum on the weekends now.
I ask you how much was it?
When I was a kid in 20s, it was. They had
$10.
Had $5.
$5 was the very
5,
small.
10, and they had 15. Once in a while, they had the 15.
I've seen 25 and up too. I've seen
the high rollers room was 25 and up, right?
Yeah.
Those rooms for all that stuff to get people
out
of there.
That's because we had the loss limit. That's why.
Yeah. On the weekends, they're 25 and 50.
Of course they are.
And I was like, fuck this. So the craps thing is still minimum $5. And I was like, this is my kind of place to bet. And you can tell that's where a lot of people funnel the trap. But you can see those tables were full. The $25, $50 tables were fucking full.
Yeah.
So people, it's like, okay, people.
Because there's no loss limit now. The people bet as much as they want.
Yeah. So anyway, I didn't go over there, but I went back to craps. So I started playing. I went up $150, and Laura's like, "Yeah, let's just get away." I'm like, "No, I'm like at the hot hand and doing whatever." Dude, I crapped out 7 times out of 9 like rolls in a row, and I went all the way down from like being up $250 down to $5. And I told Laura, I was like, "I'm gonna take this $5 and turn it back in." She's like, "No, you won't." Fuck, dude. I went on a roll for 30 minutes with $5, and I ended up winning like 50. I got my money back plus 50, and I was like, "We're done." Like I should have went up. Anytime you walk away from the casino, it's a good night.
When you walk away with more than you had.
Yeah, you know, I walk back with my money and
more. Or
more.
your money back, yeah.
So that was good to me. But yeah, that was cool. The casino's changed. Now they even sell cigars at the bar. Like, so they sell premium cigars at the Circle Bar at Maristar. You remember going to Maristar with the Circle Bar? Yeah. So you could just walk in, but now they have like a line. When you walk in, they have like a roped, and you have to go right to the front to get your drinks. And then once you get drinks, you can kind of disperse around there or whatever. Yeah. And they have sell like premium cigars, and they still got the old school cigarette machines where you can pull the cigarettes out. Whatever you pay.
How much are they there?
$10.
Shit.
And people pay it. And they're all the entire time.
Because they can't leave. They have to.
Yeah. Still got free soda and free coffee.
That's good.
And they've updated it a bunch, but like they've kind of congregated like in one area, and dude, they have so many slot machines. They're all progressive slot machines where like not progressive, but like I guess they're kind of progressive where they're all video and everybody loves them. Yeah. I mean, they're just all the older ones that we grew up on, they're all at the end. Yeah. No, they still got them. They're just not as many. Oh, okay. And some people you can tell like the older people like to play on those, and the newer people like to play in the video ones.
Right.
For like the bonus games and stuff. But anyway, okay, I'll go back to Rounders. So, so yeah, he's going to law school, and his best friend is Ed Norton, who's in jail. They grew up together, being kind of, I guess, shysters or just him getting into trouble and doing stuff or whatever. And he gets out, and the first thing he wants to do is like, hey, let's go hit up some poker tables.
Exactly.
Because that's all he does in jail and does whatever. So, you know, they go. The itch. Yeah, he's got the itch. So he gets him into a poker game over there with the rich people at some country club, pretending to be some guy's girlfriend. Or boyfriend, sorry, and and they get in, and Matt Damon follows him back because he told him he wasn't going to go, and he ends up going anyway. Yeah. And he's the one who plays the girls or whatever boyfriend.
Matt Damon.
And they go to the table, and Matt Damon mops the table, right? Yeah. And he plays the loser to what he's supposed to play, Murph. Yeah. Is Murph. Yeah. So yeah, it's just a good movie. And then throughout the movie, there's kind of trials and tribulations. Like he starts getting back into poker. His fiance leaves him because she said like you'll never get up, and like he's like, oh, I was just out with Murph doing whatever, and she looks in his pocket and finds out he's got like a couple $1,000s in money. He's like he's back playing whatever. It's like the thing that pissed me off about that. It's like wouldn't you be supportive if he was really that good at poker? She's like, I don't want to see him go through. We went through last time. It's like unless he was betting in the house and losing all your money, I get it. But it's like he did that one time. I guess it's kind of double-edged sword in that situation as a woman. Like you don't want to be with someone who's a gambling addict.
Yeah, because it is addicting. It is very dangerous.
And she had a career path wanting to do something, but at the same time, it's like his point was like he's not the average Joe Schmo. Like he's the top of the cream when it comes to playing fucking poker. Yeah, the cream of crop. So I always kind of disliked his girlfriend. It pissed me off. But I guess that's the way she's supposed to portray in the movie.
Yeah,
like,
she's supposed to be the other end of it because he's one end of the sword. She's the other edge. The voice of reason, where like you shouldn't keep gambling your money. You should keep all your money and stuff like that. But like you said, there are some people are supportive of their persons playing poker games and shit like that.
Yeah,
and then there's some that aren't.
Exactly, and then obviously his friend Ed Norton in the movie, he's great at poker and he's great at sleight of hand and like kind of cheating. Yeah, he's that's what kind of guard he is. I don't know if they call him. But he gets him in a bunch of games and they're trying to win a bunch of money, and then he ends up getting in trouble because he has the old loans he owns out. Yeah. And KGB was obviously the Russian guy. He took in his debt, and bought up his debt. So the movie ends up coming like he gets in the hole again. Gets Matt Damon in the hole because he told him he's good for it, and then Matt Damon has to rescue him from the dead and himself from getting killed or their ass whipped, pretty much.
I think he's killed, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. They're gonna kill him. Yeah, I think. Yeah. Mike. That's what his name in the movie, right? And he's like, he's like, is he good? You're good. He's like, okay, so it's on you too, whatever. It's crazy. I think the poker world probably still does have that kind of stuff where there's people who take out loans. You know what I'm saying? I mean, same thing with people who gamble and their bookies.
Underground things. Yeah, it's. I don't think they're as popular as they were, but for all I know, they could be because I don't know anybody that plays it much anymore.
Yeah. So one thing that was funny, I want to tell you, it's about our family. Do you know what Grandpa Grady used to do?
Yeah, he bet on shit.
No, but did you know he was also a bookie?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so my dad told me this. So like he didn't make it public.
Oh yeah.
But he would always hang out at Sam's, the bar or whatever. I think it was Sam's or whatever it was called.
We always had 3 TVs on. One had horse racing. One had
baseball or basketball.
Yeah, that makes sense now.
Yeah. So obviously he was always betting, but he took bets. Now he didn't take it from a lot of people. It's mostly close friends or whatever, and it wasn't like ginormous bets. My dad said he made good money on the side. I mean, Grandpa had fucking tons of money, so it wasn't a big thing. But he did it as a side hobby, like with his friends. So he was a bookie. Like he took bets, paid him, but he made more than he actually paid out. Was what my dad said. Like he didn't. He knew
what he was doing. That's what bookies do.
Come to find out from my dad too, Grandpa was so intelligent. On all his business, he never once in his life paid taxes. He figured out loopholes of all the ways to get out of the tax. Yeah. So his whole life they never paid taxes for their business or their house or anything. He always figured out the ways to get in and out of it. Yeah. So wish he would have taught me that shit.
Right.
Anyway, so going back, I thought it was cool, interesting. My dad told me the other day, he's like, Grandpa was a bookie. I was like, what? Like, I knew he used to run numbers and do stuff for his
it makes
dad.
Sense now, yeah.
But I think he just was part of
how he grew up. Younger, we didn't know any better.
No. But yeah, it makes sense with all the TVs and all the shit he was doing downstairs. And
that's what I'm sitting here thinking about. When I cleaned up, when I cleaned up his house after they died, I'm like, well, shit, this, okay.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, going back to the Rounders movie, so the moral of the story, they're both, best friends, whatever, and he's helping bail him out. So then he gets his redemption. I'm not going to go in every weed part of the movie, right? But he gets redemption against Tony KGB. He's in the hole. He has to borrow money from his best friend, because they're desperate.
Right.
Gives him like 12 or 15 grand. Goes and plays them and gets like 40K back from him. And then Tony KGB is like, look, I'm just paying you back with,
Kenny KGB.
Or Kenny?
Yeah.
Whatever his name is. Tells him like, hey, I'm paying you back with your own money. He's trying to goad me, to come back in and lose money to him. And he's like, I'm just paying you back with your money. Last time I stuck it in you. And he's like, okay, fuck it. He double the blinds and let's play or whatever. And that's the best part of the movie, the ending, right?
Yeah.
When he gets to play him and then he, like you said, he figures out the cookie tale.
Yeah.
He does tell. Everybody's got to tell, and it's just a matter of time before they show it to you.
Right.
And his was if the cookie broke and wasn't clean.
No, he licked he broke it in half and then licked the cream out of it.
Right. If he didn't, he put it back. Then he knew he didn't have anything.
Right.
And that's how he would play the hand or whatever. And then he said, I'd let him go up there, all night munching those fucking cookies up. He's like, but I didn't have that kind of time.
I love it that he keeps the cookies in like a poker chip tray.
Yeah, it says don't touch.
Really? Yeah.
Which is cool. And then he's like, after he ends up beating him, and taking him for all his money, he's like, he tells him he's like playing all these mental games. He's like, he's like, are you done? You satisfied now? He's like, I could go busting up you all night. And all the guys step in, about to whip his ass or whatever. He's like, no. He beat me straight up, fair and square, which was cool that he actually admitted to it, because most guys in that situation would probably kill somebody or do something and take their money, right?
Yeah.
But honestly, he was actually like, no, he beat me.
Yeah, he was impressed by it.
Yeah, so he ends up getting the money at the end, paying back his loan, paying back the thing. He's like, me and Worm were straight, whatever, which is Ed Norton or whatever. And he's like, I'm taking my money and I'm going to fucking Vegas to play in the World Series of Poker, which was cool. Like, it was like a cool, like, little ending to the end of the movie or whatever. And that really made me, like, enjoy Matt Damon as an actor even more, because I wasn't a huge Matt Damon fan when I was a kid. I didn't really enjoy all of his shit. But as I got older, I was like, man, he's a good actor.
Yeah.
A lot of good movies, right? But Ed Norton, this is mostly about him. He plays that degenerate gambler, like scummy bag, good friend, but it's still a scumbag at the same time, like just to a T.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of people that I read about that they don't want to work with him because he's such an asshole. Mm-hmm. Well, playing that character, it pretty much was him because he was an asshole.
All good actors, they all say they're divas or whatever, and they want certain things, but there's a reason why he's a good actor. Like, he's a high-paid actor. Like, they're all like that. I would.
Well, not all of them should be like that. That's the problem, because some of them are Mike Myers. He was a real asshole for David Carvey and stuff like that. Because a lot of them try to get a say in what movie because they are in, because they want they want to change things about the movie, or if they left it alone, they didn't want to be in it and stuff like that. So I can understand both sides of it.
I will say this, like at the end of the movie, like it was cool, and he was like talking about, he said, I like the part at the end where the cab driver's driving him to the airport, and he's like, you're going to Vegas, good luck, man. He's like, everybody always insists it's luck, and then he talks about like why it's not luck, and
right.
The grand prize is $1 million, and that was huge for the World Series poker back then.
That was big.
And now it's worth like $10 million or more, like or 15.
More than that,
something ridiculous now because how big it's grown, right? And you know that you can rebuy into the World Series poker if you get one chance to rebuy in.
Yeah.
And most of the poker players that do it, they're professionals. They get it sponsored, so they crap out.
The money,
yeah. They don't even have the money. The people that sponsor them pay for them to get in. They want their name and they want their brandy in there.
That's
for
why
whatever.
When you watch it, you see somebody with like 20 patches of poker stars. Or whatever. Yeah.
Well, they do that too. But sometimes I've read too, like even though they're sponsored, some of the guys get to wear whatever they want. They just have to wear the hat, or something stupid, or say that.
As long as their name is on, it shows their name.
Yeah, I mean it's like in anything in sports, right? The advertisement, who's paying for all their shit. I mean, I get it. If someone's giving me $10,000 to go somewhere, I'm gonna wear it.
Oh, yeah,
if I have to wipe my ass with fucking chocolate toilet paper to get in there, that's what I'm doing, or whatever. So,
I'll wear tampon for $10. $10 is $10.
Before we go on to your movie, I will say this: this movie did make me get into poker that much more. And like after I did this, I played a lot of Texas Hold'em for a lot of time, like online. I used to bet and be in tournaments. I used to play with my friends on the weekend sometimes. My 20s, after we go to the bar, we come home and we play Texas Hold'em at their house. We had a poker table we go play at.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't win all the time, but man, I won a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember this one time, one of my buddies, he brought a friend over and he's like, I'm really good at poker. And the first hand, he went in all in. We put $100 in, and I fucking I snaked him and took him.
I've done that too. Yeah.
Took him right at the first hand, and I ended up winning. I think I went up by like $500, and he was all pissed off about it. And it's like, obviously, you're not that good of a poker player.
Right.
Like, I mean, I get it. It's all luck of the draw, right? You go in or whatever,
but still, you don't be stupid and cocky in the first.
No,
first one, unless you really mean it, or unless you really are.
The way my dad taught me, and it kind of I've watched from other players play, you can psychologically fuck someone is when you go in and play. You make sure everybody knows that you have a hand, and when you beat everybody, they're like, "Oh, you play a good hand, a hand." And then like when you start playing, you can bluff and act like you don't, like you have a hand, but you don't have a hand. But everyone thinks you always have a hand because you're always playing when you have, and you're start getting fucked up in the head, and it's like it's an easy way to get people manipulated, especially people that are drinking and playing poker and being idiots, right?
Right, exactly.
Like I forgot to say, and then we will move on. The part where Worm, before he goes, he comes in, and he's like, and they're gonna go play at the not the Mirage, but what's that place they go to? The other place that's like mini Vegas.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the name of it. Not Reno.
It is Reno.
Is it Reno?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Maybe it is. I can't remember. Wherever they go, and he's like, and he sees a hooker, and he's like, I got needs, man. I gotta go take care of this. And he's like, okay. So he sits down with all his friends. They're like, hey, what else did I do with a bunch of degenerates? They're all playing poker. That's like they do as their job. And then all the casual people start sitting at the table, and he talks about all the tells. He's like, you can tell like by a guy the way he looks at his cards, the way he smokes a cigarette, the way he
plays with his clothes,
or puts out a hand on his face. Just like certain things like that, you can tell tells. That's insane. That's what I always used to think of. Like, is that really true? And it is. It's a
well, that's why it's. And I know you want to go back to the movie, but that's how. A lot of people told me that you shouldn't play with your friends because you know how your friends are.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell your friend. I mean, if you wanted to hustle money out of your friends, play with your friends because then what they fidget or they stuff like that. But like total strangers, it's a total new ball game because you don't know. Like if you first time you sit down with me, if you see me scratch my nose, you think I'm scratching my nose.
Yeah.
But other people that actually know be like, oh, he's got shit.
Yeah. I kind of like the fact that some guys when they first started doing it, now they all do it. But when the guys just come to poker tail and they wear sunglasses, and like now they all do it because still people can't see their eyes.
Yeah.
Or
that's why I said that's like the Unabomber. He puts his hoodie over his head and covers.
Well,
his face.
one guy said that they couldn't do this anymore, but they were starting to do it. Some guys were wearing, like during COVID, they're like, oh, I can just wear a mask because you can't see my face and see my tells,
right?
Or whatever. And they're wearing sunglasses, and then I think they got that banned because they're like, we can't do this. Yeah. Like this is ridiculous.
Right.
Like you're ruining the sport, huh?
Yeah, especially if they're on TV or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that was Rounders. Matt Damon and Ed Norton. Do you want to go to one of your picks? Or stay with Ed Norton?
No, we go one of mine. Okay. Back and forth. I picked John Candy, and I'm going to start with The Great Outdoors, which is one of the best buddy movies ever. It's him and Dan Aykroyd. John Candy takes his family to the cabin up in the woods somewhere, Minnesota or Michigan, and then the rich bitch motherfucker, Dan Aykroyd shows up out of nowhere, his brother-in-law, and just tries to help him have fun when he could have did it by himself.
Mm-hmm.
Which was a really great movie. A lot of one-liners in there I still use every once in a while. Like, Dad, let go of the rope. And John Candy was just an all-around great comedian to me. I mean, everything he was in, I think I've seen everything he's done. He was just hilarious. I'll be talking about Spaceballs and stuff later, but but Great Outdoors, like I said, great buddy movie. I forgot what year it came out in. It was like perfect timing for him though, because his career was just taking off. Dan Aykroyd's been around a little while. Trying to think who else. Guy who played Gomer Pyle is in there. He plays the guy who gets electrocuted 66 times. In the old 96, there's a part where he's nowadays it's more popular, or not as popular, but they had the eating contest where if you eat the biggest thing in the restaurant, everybody eats for free.
Mm-hmm.
That back then it was unheard of to do stuff like that, but he ate a 96-ounce steak.
Yeah.
It's like, God damn.
And then he was sicker than a dog after he was done.
Yeah,
He's
because Dan Aykroyd's like, look at the size of the maggots on that meat.
Yeah. Yeah. That's when like the hype of Dan Aykroyd was really big. I like Dan Aykroyd in a lot of movies. I think he was good in that movie for sure. A lot of people don't like him as an actor. They don't think he's a good actor.
They think he's stale. It's just he's not as fluid, whatever the word is.
Yeah, he's like a lot of actors where he needs a tag team with somebody.
Oh yeah,
by himself.
He can't do it by himself. Yeah,
right. Like in Ghostbusters, he's great.
Yeah.
And then in this movie, I think he's great with John Candy. I think he used to be good on SNL back in the day, right? Like,
of course, he had other people though. So,
sure, but that's the kind of guy he is.
Yeah.
You can tell it's like we've talked about with Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly. Together, they're awesome. John C. Reilly by himself, he can do serious roles and do whatever. Will Ferrell can't do that.
Yeah.
He's just one of those guys. He needs to tag team off. And, he is funny in his own way. But for the most part, it's like his shtick is only good with other people.
Yeah.
He's like, he was good with, what's his name? Marky Mark, like in that cop movie or whatever.
Yeah, other guys.
Yeah, stuff like that. Like that's the roles he's built for.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, going back to your movie, The Great Outdoors. When I first saw this movie, I was a kid, and my dad's like, "Oh, this is a great movie," and we started watching it or whatever. And obviously, John Candy is always fucking funny. And he, it seems like a lot of those movies early with John Candy, it's like those kind of movies always had like the family and the kids, kind of had like the feel of National Lampoons, kind of like Chevy Chase or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, folks, park close. Anyway, John Candy in the movie, he's like, yeah, my dipshit friend, pretty much Dan Aykroyd was coming along, and Dan Aykroyd, his brother-in-law, I'm sorry, comes along, and I think he kind of like invites himself. Like he doesn't.
Yeah, he does. He just shows up.
He just shows up, and he's like, what the hell is he doing here, right? And with his 2 twin daughters, whatever, and his wife, and he's a stereotypical guy who he acts like a hotshot, has this great job, but really
he's a investor, but he didn't have. He lost his job. Remember?
Yeah, he's fake. Like he's one of those guys that go around and portrays to be like Mr. Big Shot and do stuff. There's a lot of people I know that are like that. They want everybody to perceive like they're a good family, have a lot of money, and they're doing all this stuff. But in reality, it's like they're struggling, they're not doing whatever, and it's like. I'm sure
it's a big flex.
Huh?
It's a big flex.
Yeah, it's a flex, and it's a weird thing. It's like, I think sometimes, it could be the fact that he was doing well at one point. He was caught in a lifestyle, and he doesn't want people to know that he's not in that lifestyle anymore, which, whatever. But he portrays the part very well in the movie. And I really remember the scene, with the bear, which is really good. And I like the part where he tells a scary story around the fire. He's like, Jesus, what are you trying to give me, a heart attack? He's like, it hurt the old ticker. I think that's what Dan Aykroyd says.
I like when they're drinking at the bar, and Dan Aykroyd was like, he takes a shot or whatever, and then he says, I'm going to introduce Mr. Thick Dick, Mr. Urinal King. I should talk about Dan Aykroyd next time.
Mm-hmm.
But like with John Candy, though, just everything he does is classic. People compare him to Farley. Farley was more physical comedy, slapstick kind of stuff.
In your face, loud.
Yeah. John Candy was just like, he could just say like 2 words and make you laugh your ass off.
Mm-hmm.
He had that
charisma,
magic,
power,
charisma, kind of thing. And it's just anything that he was in that I can think of off the top of my head right now is he was just great in it.
I think anything he touched kind of turned into comedy gold, and people wanted to work with him. Apparently, he was a nice guy to work with too.
He was a great guy. Yeah.
But in the movie, I remember too, like a couple other good parts was like they always, well, not really good parts, but they always portray like the sun. And they're in the summer, and he finds some summer date, and he's chasing some tail around because he sticks the pool table or pool stick between her legs or whatever when they're shooting pool. And then he's got the annoying little sister, that he doesn't want to. Or little brother. Is it little brother?
Yeah, little brother.
Okay, little brother. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, like they're on a family vacation, which is supposed to be fun, and then like they go ski boating. And John Candy he's like, oh, yeah, I'll show you how to get on there. And then he's like, all right. He's showing his son how to get on skis.
How to do skis.
Yeah, how to do skis. And he's waving his hand. They're like, oh, I think he wants to go. Or whatever.
Yeah.
And Dan Aykroyd's
like, skis going? Oh, okay.
And he's got this huge boat with this huge engine, and he puts it from 0 to 100 real quick.
Suck my wake. That's what it's called.
Yeah. He's flying around, and everyone's like watching him go around. And you can tell it's professional dude, but he's like flying around on his feet.
You can still see close up his face.
He kicks off one ski to ride on one ski. And it goes off the ramp and stuff, and then he's waving everybody at the end.
Oh, no.
And then he gets inside and he's like, I'm fucking leaving,
Yeah.
He's like, everything my brother or brother-in-law touches, fucks everything up and does everything. Yeah, it's just it's a good movie, man. Like it's like a perfect movie, family movie, like,
family buddy movie. Something that makes you feel good because it's something that you would wish he was like your dad kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's just the way he delivered things and how he was like a family man, even though he really wasn't. And he's just funny as fuck.
Yeah, the other thing about it, it's like, think about it now. It's like the vacations back then seemed more fun and real. Like, not saying the vacations
because we were kids, we didn't know any better.
Right, like watching that show, I was like, oh, that family vacation looks fun. Like they're doing a lot of fun stuff. They went to the arcade, they did all this other stuff, whatever. And then you're like, oh, this is cool. It's like, as an adult, it doesn't seem like vacations are that fun, even though we do the same kind of stuff. Yeah, it just seemed like more fun.
You're not doing it. You're watching your kids do it.
Sure,
that kind of thing.
Well, you're John Candy now doing that kind of stuff, whatever, and letting them do all that kind of stuff. But it's different. I kind of remind me is like where they went in the Great Outdoors. Kind of reminds me of like the Ozarks. That's where we went as a kid.
Exactly.
We did the kind of same stuff. Whatever. People go to a lake and hang out and want water and swim and doing whatever. But there's other good parts in the movie. I'm trying to think off the top of my head because this is off the cuff.
The part when Dan Aykroyd walks in on him and he's like, "I'm Sheila, or you could be Sheilana, the oak tree woman." Oh, I'm not being the oak tree woman.
Yeah,
he's making out with his wife, ready to bang her right there on the counter.
Yeah,
he's stripping her, and Dan Aykroyd walks in with a video camera.
Yeah,
Smokey's cousin Horny.
Yeah, dude, they play off each other well in the movie, and then obviously they butt heads a lot, and in the end they all get in a kind of a fight. The mom and dad, or John Candy and his wife, start talking shit to the brother-in-law, and then the wife steps in, the two wives go at it or whatever, and they're like,
they're gone.
The kids are leaving or whatever, and then they realize, hey, where's our twin daughters? And they're out in the rain. They get stuck in some cave that's filling up with water, don't they?
Yeah.
Or something like that.
That old mic of mine that was filled up with like dynamite and water.
Oh, that's right.
And then they work as a team to get the kids out, and then
save them.
The bear comes in, tries to go after them.
Yeah. And then
Big bear chased me.
Yeah.
Big bear.
The black bear.
Yeah, big bear.
And then at the end, it's kind of like become friends. And he's like, hey, I'll help invest and do whatever you need help in or whatever.
Yeah, he moved in with them because remember he was like, I'll race you home. What's he mean by race me home? I don't get it. What are you trying to tell me? What's he saying?
He's like, we're moving in.
Yep, they're moving in. They're busted.
Yeah. Well, it's cool. It's a good story. Like, I mean, because I'm thinking about how many families are together and they bump heads and fight and do stuff. And I hate to say
it's your typical family.
That's stereotypical families. I mean, I love my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, but I don't want them moving in with me.
Right.
They live a totally different lifestyle than I do, and they're great people. But it's like I wouldn't want to deal with other people's stuff or whatever because we do things different, and you do bump heads. Like even on vacation when we go, we're all pretty laid back, but there's times we're like, hey, we want to do this and we want to do this, and and you guys get bicker back and forth, kind of like your children trying to figure out what you want to do, and then most men are like, yeah, we don't give a fuck, we just don't want to deal with it or whatever. But the women bicker, and it's like I couldn't deal with this shit all the time,
Right.
I mean, it's real.
Yeah.
It's kind of like believable what goes
on. It's
on.
very relatable. The whole entire movie is very relatable.
Yeah, and I think it's one of John Candy's like good works. I don't know if this was one of his like how many movies he did before he did Great Outdoors. But
not too many.
Not too many.
No, but actually a good handful. I'm sorry. Yeah. He did like Stripes and
Stripes. So good.
I think Spaceballs were around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Harry Crumb was after it, of course.
Yeah, I sent you that thing about Stripes, right? That whole long spiel about like what the town they stayed in and what they had to do, and like there was no drinking and all kinds of shit they had to do for that movie.
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
That was actually supposed to be a Cheech and Chong movie.
I know, I heard that.
Chong, and then it goes to the army or some shit.
Yeah,
that would have been interesting. I'd still watch that.
Yeah. Either way, great movie. Yeah, I think that was one of John Candy's first movies, The Stripes.
Yeah, I think it was. Other than like Vacation.
Maybe like one of his big movies. You know, I think before that he might have been
his more bigger role because Vacation he was just this.
Was John Candy on SNL when we were kids, like 70s and 80s?
No.
He was never on.
No.
Okay, so I didn't think so.
Yeah, he would have been great on there. Shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I said, I like him better than Farley. It's hard for me to say that, but it's true.
You know, even though I grew up with Farley a lot, John Candy, I like him as an actor better. As a comedian, I'd probably say I don't know. On SNL, I love Chris Farley.
I'd love to see his stand up. If he ever had a stand up, I would watch it.
Chris Farley's movies, you know, he was only good because him and Spade, them together were great, unbelievable. That's one of the coolest duos of comedy ever. Like the way they played off each other, and I'm sure being in those rooms together were fucking hilarious with those guys.
Well, they were fighting on set too in one movie too. I think it was Tommy Boy. They were.
Were they?
Yeah. But see, Farley's like you said with what's his face, like Farrell, that he's got to have somebody with him. He's got to have a buddy to feed off of, basically, because if not, he's not as funny. He was Saturday Night Live, he was all right. It was pretty good, but of course he had people to feed off of. Any other movie I can remember off the top of my head, like Airheads or Wayne's World, he wasn't the main character, but once he got the main character role, like they kept putting him with Spade, and then I think he was with Matthew Perry in his last movie. So, or is that with John Candy? Or
which one's it again?
Farley's, I think one of his last movies. You know, he always has to have a buddy, or all his movies pretty much he has to have a buddy in, or else he was not as funny.
I don't know.
You don't think so?
Who?
Farley.
I would say yes, he did. I mean, but most of them was David Spade. You know, all his good movies, Black Sheep, Tommy Boy, are his two most famous movies. After that, I don't really consider any other movie after that really big Chris Farley movies.
No, like I said, like he's always had minor parts, like in the Adam Sandler movie, pretty much. He was. He was actually.
I mean, the bus driver was funny.
Yeah, that was funny as fuck, Billy Madison.
Yeah,
that was great.
Mm-hmm.
You know why he had that little minor role, don't you?
No.
It's because that's when he had his heart attack, and they wanted him to chill out because he needed a role where he could be calm.
Not scream.
Yeah, not scream his head off, stuff like that. He was actually supposed to play a cable guy instead of Jim Carrey.
Oh, really?
But that's when he had his heart attack or whatever, and his breakdown and stuff like that.
I think Jim Carrey knocked it off
way
better.
If Jim Carrey didn't do that movie, he wouldn't be as big as he is right now, or was.
Yeah,
you know?
Cable Guy. That was such a good movie.
I know. That's another movie I have to own. I don't have it right now.
It's funny because back then and then there's probably kids that grew up like that where that's all the only friend they really did have was the TV. Like there was always someone that was around. It was the TV.
That was their babysitter. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was funny, like watching like how he hacked like the box, like pressing buttons, and doing all that stuff. Like it's like that never works. It's like, kind of like the cheat code he was unlocking or whatever.
Yeah,
but it was funny.
You mean legal cable?
Yeah, he doesn't have legal cable. He's not even a real cable guy. Right. That's the best part about it.
But he still does it.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to Candy, he was great all around guy for great outdoors. I don't see anybody doing that part of the brother.
I don't either, because I think he portrayed the role perfect, and I think that was good casting, and it just felt like an '80s movie, you know. It just I don't know why, but it always reminds me of Vacation.
Well, like I said, it's very relatable because that's what you did. You went on vacation with your family, and other family might show up or whatever. It's like, oh fuck, you know, what are you doing here?
Yeah, like Aunt Edna.
Yeah.
Tired dog to the bumper.
That's still one of my favorite movies of all time.
It's a classic, you know. And there's so many good movies. We could do it on Chevy Chase too.
Yeah, we'll do him later.
I feel like I love Chevy Chase, but his roles were all the same too. Like he had to have a niche role, huh?
He was always the dad figure, except for like Fletch or a couple of little
Caddyshack.
Caddyshack, stuff like that.
Fletch is a good movie too. That's an underrated movie that people My dad showed me Fletch. Not many people are like, "What's Fletch?"
Well, it's funny because when I looked through my DVDs yesterday, I found my Fletch movie, or the first one, not the second one. Did you know they made a third one?
Yeah, I did know that.
Okay.
Yeah,
I only watched
my dad said the first one. The first one's the best. My dad.
First and second one are good. The first one's the best one. Third one's got John Hamm in it.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, and it's newer. It just came out not too long ago. Yeah.
Big Blues guy.
Oh, yeah. I think Guillaume's part of the Blues, isn't he?
No.
No? He's just a big fan?
He's a huge fan.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else with the great outdoors?
No, Great Outdoors, no. Go ahead with your next one.
The new indoors. Let's see. The next.
Indoors?
All right, so I did bring 4 movies, but we're probably only going to talk about 3. It's just with time's sakes. Let's see. I watched this movie actually the other day. I'll save one of his bigger movies for then, so we can talk about that. Is The Illusionist.
Oh yeah.
I love this movie growing up.
I've only seen it a few times. I need to see it like recently.
You can watch it on Plex for free.
Is it on Plex?
Okay. And it's got one. I don't know if it's on his actual Plex server or whatever, but it's on there for ads. You can watch whatever, which is not a big deal.
We watched commercials when we were kids anyway. So
yeah.
It doesn't bother me.
The reason I like this movie was it was really funny, and I've made this comparison a bunch with a lot of movies, but during this time when this movie came out, The Illusionist came out, and The Prestige came out around the same time, right? And Prestige is awesome.
Yes,
I love that fucking movie, right? It's just such a great movie, but I've always been a kid, I was always fascinated with magic. Yeah. You know, you always want to know like how people did stuff. Well, I like this role. It definitely, was a good role for Edward Norton. He starts out as this, poor carpenter kid, and he's best friends with the Duchess von Tacius is her name or whatever, and she's the she comes from royalty, or upper class,
basically the exact dichotomy of him. He's poor, she's
not. And they're friends, and then they get separated as friends, whatever. And he made this. He was part of his dad was a wood shop guy or whatever, like carpenter.
Yeah.
And made cabinets and a bunch of other stuff. Well, he made her this cool like locket necklace with this picture in there, and like she never forgot him because I guess that was her first love, both of them.
Right.
Well,
you never forget that one.
Right. And they don't really tell that in the story until later, but I'm just kind of going over what I remember in story. But it starts off like he goes into a theater and he does some illusionist shit, and people are like, "Oh, this guy's awesome," blah blah blah. And then you see, what's his name? He's a good actor. I can't think of his name at the moment, but he plays the main cop in the movie.
Oh, shit. I know who you're talking about. Go ahead.
Anyway, he plays the main cop. I'll get his name here in a second, and he's watching him, and he's like, "Hey, since he's really in tight with the emperor." Son, I think it's the emperor's son that he's kind of taken over as the emperor's out for war where they're doing something. Mm-hmm. He invites him to his house, or no, he tells the emperor's going to come to his show, and he wants to make sure that it's, that they have like guards there to make sure everything's good and wants to put on a good performance. And he does this trick with the orange tree.
Paul Giamatti,
that's right.
I had his face.
Yeah.
Just couldn't remember his name.
Yeah, Paul Giamatti. He's good. He plays the main cop, and I like him. He's a good actor. Anyway, so he comes in, talks to him, goes backstage, and he tries to look at his orange tree, and he's like, "Hey, can I pick your brain, and can you tell me how to do this?" And he's like, "I'll show you a trick." I thought this was really cool. Mm-hmm. And this is actually a real old trick. He's like, "I'll show you the ball trick." And he's like, "You take 2 balls, put one in one ball, put it in your hand."
Sleight of hand.
No, not even sleight of hand. He tells him, he goes, "Put the ball in your hand, and I'll guess which one it is, and I'll get it right every single time."
Oh, that, yeah.
And he goes, "If I get it wrong, I'll share my trick with you." And he said, "Okay." And he turns around, and he goes, "Okay, I'm ready." And he goes, "Okay." He goes, "It's in this hand." He goes, But he's like, "You have a compass over here. Could have signaled and told you." He's like, "No." He's like, "Here's the difference." He's like, when I told you to take the ball and put it up to your hand, I forgot this part. He's like, "You put it up to your hand, and you put it down. The one hand will always be wider because the blood rushed from your hand."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh." Like, it was just a cool little thing.
You look at the littlest things to evidence to determine that trick.
Yeah. So, but it's a setup trick, so he knows how to predict it right every single time. And he taught him, and then he was all like giddy and happy about it because he was fascinated by magic. So after that, then the emperor comes and sees him play, and he's like, "Hey," he wants to invite you to his house or whatever. But at the time, he volunteers the Duchess von Tacius to come on stage, and he recognizes that's his friend from a kid because he left.
And she still had the locket, yeah.
Yeah, she had the locket, but he left the town after he was a kid for many years and came back, and that's when he started doing this magician shit. He was still in love with her, so he goes to the emperor's castle, whatever. The son that's playing the emperor at the time because his dad's away. He does these tricks for him in front of all his, friends and royalty people, whatever, and he makes a fool of the emperor because he was like, he didn't believe in his magic or whatever, so he made him do stuff. He does this trick where he takes his sword and he explains the story of Excalibur and sticks it on the ground and lets it stand up straight. He's like, only the worthy can take the sword. So a bunch of people come up, like his cousin or whatever, and try to take it, and he's like, "Okay, so the prince comes up. Yeah, the prince. That's right. He's the prince. Comes up and tries to take it, and he's not letting him take it. He looks at him, and he nods, and then like whatever trick he did, he pulls it, and it's like this, sword back to the rightful owner, which pissed everybody in front of him. He's like, hey, if you can't take this sword, like someone made a joke in the crowd, like, hey, if you can't take this sword, one day you'll never be emperor or whatever, and like they're all laughing and blah blah blah. And after that, he tries to shut down his show. After that, but he was doing that to make a point, to say like, this guy's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
So the rest of the moral of the story is, he's trying to win back the girl,
always.
But also, he wants to prove that, he is a real illusionist and really can do all this kind of stuff. So, do you remember any other parts? I can keep going, but
you keep going if you want.
Yeah. So after that, like he's trying to win her over. So they set up a plan, him and the girl, because they're meeting, and the cop's fucking following them and stuff. But he's doing that on purpose. Like he's told them to set this up as misdirection. Kind of like doing like magician shit
exactly.
out in daylight, doing stuff, whatever, to make it look they're hooking up and doing stuff, which they are.
Right.
Then the prince gets a whiff of it, and he tries to confront his fiancée, because they're both to get married or whatever. Slaps her around or does whatever, and then they set up that she gets killed by him, but she's actually faking her death.
Right.
And he had like some like weird potion that could slow down her heart and do all this other stuff that was really cool, like to trick him.
Right.
And at the end,
it's like a Romeo and Juliet kind of thing.
Yeah, it kind of is, right? It kind of is that kind of story, or whatever. He says, "Let's do this, and then we can vanish forever." Well, for like a month or two, she was out of sight, out of mind. Like no one could see her, but he was doing these illusions where he could like pull ghosts from the dead, like kids, other people, whatever, and then he pulls her from the dead and says like that he killed her, and then he ends up shooting himself in his own castle because he sent a letter. Paul Giamatti sends a letter to his dad and saying like he's trying to overthrow you, and that was like his whole grand scheme. He wanted to overthrow his dad and kill him and take over, which is crazy. But I guess that happened a lot in power. I mean, it's how it happens today. People try to overthrow people and do stuff, right?
Power gets to people's heads, and they want everything.
Yeah, so he does that. I skipped a lot of parts of the movie because I'm just trying to go fast through this, or whatever. But the movie's very good, and it really portrayed like magicians and back at the time, like how like sleight of hand got developed and like what they did and like how they were really important. Like he was very rich for his time, and he like handed out money to poor kids and like.
Right.
I don't know. I really enjoyed it. It was a different role for Ed Norton, and to this day, I mean, anytime it's on TV, I watch it. I don't know. It's just a good movie. Just to me, it was just a really good movie. Yeah, it's not the typical like drama love story, but it's got a little bit of love story to it.
Yeah, it's got a little Romeo and Juliet to it. It's also got a couple little other older stuff like Shakespeare kind of stuff. I liked it because, like you said, it's a role that you've never seen Norton in before. I've always seen him in like American History X or some of the other movies, and it's just like this is like a real fucking serious movie. It's really good, And Paul, like you said, Paul Giamatti, everything that he's in is like fucking like almost like phenomenal. So there's a couple misses here and there, but there's other times he's been really really funny. Other times he's really serious. And it's just like he has that.
He's good
range.
He's a good actor. He's another one of those actors that he flies on the radar for some reason. I mean, in the actor world, people probably really appreciate him, but like as like a household name, people aren't thinking about that guy.
Right.
Like
he's just a bald little redhead guy.
But every role he plays good. He always plays like a cop, or he plays someone that's kind of in authority.
Yeah, I would say authority figure. Pretty much.
Like he even plays in there's another TV show I just watched with him not too long ago. I think he plays like a higher up guy, like a governor or someone, a politician or something.
He played Dr. Satan in Rob Zombie's cartoon.
Oh yeah,
I just watched that the other day.
He does that, and he plays in
Howard Stern. He was the Pig Vomit.
Yeah, Pig Vomit. Yeah.
He was in he was some kind of teacher. Maybe.
Howard, you can't do that. He just
motherfucking Antichrist.
Yeah, he punched Pig Vomit in the face.
He punched himself in the face.
Yeah, that was good.
You need to put that on Plex.
Private Parts is a great movie.
Yeah,
that's
I love the soundtrack.
Yeah,
it has like Ozzy and Black Sabbath and Type O Negative and shit. It's really cool. Anyway, but yeah, Ed Norton. That's a totally different role than I've seen him in before. And like you said, with other movies he's in after that, it's a lot of stuff is really great. And
I think this one, he's been in a lot of movies.
This one sets apart from the rest of them.
Yeah, it does. That's why it stood out to me. That's why I picked it, because I'm like, every time I see this movie on, I'm like, I want to watch it, and because how good a performance he puts on with Paul. And the twist at the end was my favorite part. I mean, if you haven't seen this movie, spoiler, I don't care. At the end, like when he gets away with his girlfriend or whatever, they're away and they move away or whatever, and they land. He comes by at the end because Paul's leaving the Emperor's palace, whatever you want to call it, because he met with them, and he still had the locket because he found the locket that he left, whatever, for the clues, whatever, to say like, hey, he killed her in the barn when she rode around the horse. And he walks by and he pickpockets him, takes that, but then he leaves him something in his pocket. Yeah. And then he also has that little kid bring him the orange tree trick because he told him he would give it to him and reveal to him how he would, put the stuff in there and how the mechanics would bring it up and grow the plant and do all that kind of stuff. And he was all like, hey, this is awesome. He's like, who gave this to me? He's like, Sir Eisenheim. The kid says it to him. And then he realizes, like, hey, where's that locket in my pocket? And he realizes that guy bumped into me was him. And he tries to chase him down. By the time he figures it out, he's gone and out of sight. And he claps at the end, because what happens, he's like, yeah, his biggest trick wasn't just him doing all that stuff. The biggest trick was stealing the girl from the Emperor, getting him to kill himself and leave them alone so they could be on their own. And that was his giant trick. And then it was kind of like a mind fuck. If you watch the whole thing, the whole illusion was the entire time him going there to get his girl, and that was the biggest trick. Right. I didn't put that in 2 and 2 until I watched it multiple times. But to me, I was like, man, that really set in. Like, that was a really good, just well-made movie.
Yeah. It also, I just thought about while you were talking that the other kind of story kind of follows is like the Count of Monte Cristo. Mm-hmm. The guy who separates from the girl, and then his girl gets a new life, and he disguises himself to take the girl back and or win the girl back while all this other shit was happening. Kind of like if you think the Punisher movie where John Travolta kills what's his fate, Thomas Jane, kills his family, and then he comes back and makes him kill his own family. That. There's other older stories that coincide with that movie that kind of fit together.
Yeah. So after it all happened, that was just one of those movies. And after it came out, dude, and it's really weird. Like Prestige and Illusions came out at the same time, just like Deep Impact and Armageddon came out. I don't know if it was like in Hollywood, like, oh, we got to make some type of magic movie during this time or something.
It was a competition thing. If you think about it, like it's Marvel and DC. Mm-hmm. It's with Illusionist. I don't forget what studio put it out, but then that was going against whatever the Illusionist was putting out. Mm-hmm. They were in competition basically. That's what you see a lot of times in Hollywood when there's like a fad going on or whatever, a trend. Mm-hmm. Like in the 80s, you had the Switch movies where the kid with the dad or something like that, or people switch bodies, stuff like that. If you think it's the different studios doing their version of that.
Yeah. Well, both those movies are both phenomenal. Oh, yeah. I watched Prestige the other day, and I love that movie, and I love what's his name as a director.
Nolan.
Yes, Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
All of his movies to me are like they're just good movies.
Is fucking the best. I don't care.
That is one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Batman.
Yeah.
The one with the original with Joker with Heath Ledger. It's just a great movie.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of all three. Like, everyone's like the trilogy is great or whatever. I just like the first one. That's just what. I mean, they're all good.
Right. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love that one. I like the older ones too, because that's what I grew up on. But still,
I mean, it's just like now. It's like I love the original Supermans, but this new Superman coming out, everyone's like, it's gonna be so great. It's like, dude, I don't know how many more Supermans I can watch. I was really up in arms, not up in arms, but I was really happy with the last guy they chose for Superman. Mm-hmm. And then they ran him out of DC like idiots, and I was like, guys, that was your cash cow. Like that guy was awesome as Superman. Now he's
Wolverine.
No, he's not. Well, he's fake Wolverine.
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman.
He's Calverine, and he's supposed to be playing Wolverine in the next one.
Yeah, but Hugh Jackman's staying on as Wolverine.
Well, I meant the different movies.
Yeah. Anyway, he's
still going to be Wolverine.
He's now in the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
Henry Cavill. Yeah. He's awesome.
I remember him starring in Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
With a big fuck up.
And they fight in the fucking bathroom.
Yeah. And all of a sudden he gets a beard or a mustache, whatever.
Did you know that part? I don't know if we said this I think we did, but did you know that part where he flicks his arms out or whatever?
Yeah, that's where fuck up.
Yeah. That was like that's from a DC movie or whatever when he was doing stuff. So that was cool. Or that was the Wolverine part where he's supposed to flick his arms like doom whatever, and he fights him. I was like, oh, that's fucking cool. I didn't know that was a nod to it, whatever, and they just left it in.
Yeah, of course.
All right, so we can move on from The Illusionist or whatever. But yeah, great movie. my last movie's gonna be really good. Reveal.
I have a feeling what it is, but I don't.
Yeah.
I gave you a few yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
The next John Candy movie I wanted was God damn it, what was Who's Harry Crumb?
Mm-hmm.
That was the one where he made his own. He actually was the big major star in that movie.
Yeah.
He played so many different characters of himself. Basically, the story is he's a private eye hired by a rich guy because his daughter got kidnapped, and he tries to figure out who kidnapped her and stuff like that. And he's just so fumbling over everything.
He's a fumbling idiot.
Exactly. He's very buffoonish.
And apparently, he comes from a line of detectives. His dad's and his great dad or his father.
Yeah,
or
everybody
else.
in his family before him was a detective of some sort.
And he's got that great name of like who the detective is, but he's in this like real rinky dink fucking place with his receptionist, and he's like just sitting there waiting for a phone call.
Yeah. And then he's sitting there saying words that don't make sense.
Yeah,
like he's talking about, like you see his little fallacy. Woo!
Yeah,
he stole it from just the calendar that was just sitting by.
Oh, the calendar sayings. Yeah. That was funny.
That movie's that was him at his best, I think, or one of his best.
I think so too. The funny thing is, I know I brought that movie up the other day. We're talking about like movies that are underrated. It's a very underrated John Candy movie.
Oh, very, very.
And my dad and mom, nobody ever told me about this movie. Now, how random this is, back in the day, when movies started coming on TV shows, you could see it like come up and you'd have a guide to watch it. I saw the movie on, I turned it on, and my sisters are watching it with me.
I think I was too.
And that's the way I discovered it. I never went to a store and rented this movie or whatever. And we watched it. I'm like, this is John Candy. And I watched it one day after coming home from school. I'll never forget it. And I watched it, and I thought it was great. And then it was on like that entire month a bunch of times. They just repeated movies. I watched it like 4 or 5 times. I just laughed.
You
and
should put
thought,
that on Plex.
Who's Harry Crumb?
Yeah,
I'll put that on Plex for us. And I just always remember, like, one of the things that always stuck out to me, one, he's an idiot, but two, like, he always had these fucking great disguises in the movie.
God, yes.
Yeah, like dressing up and stuff. So, like, that was...
He's trying to be a jockey. He's like a 300-pound jockey.
Yeah, he's stuck in the phone booth.
Yeah.
Who else plays in the movie? What's his name? That plays him...
Tim Thomerson was one of the bad guys. Annie Potts was the stepmother. I forgot what who the dad's name was, but he's been in a lot of popular movies.
What's his name? He's from Beetlejuice. The guy that...
Yeah. Fuck. I know who you're talking about.
He's that. He's
one that got arrested for child porn on his computer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck, I know his name.
Anyway.
It's going to pop in my head when we don't think about it.
Yeah.
Shawnee Smith from Saw is in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, Tim Thomerson.
Mm-hmm.
Annie Potts.
So we'll figure out the name. But anyway, it's funny because like they hire him as private eye, but they also have the police looking into it as well. And they're clashing heads. He's clashing heads with this girl.
Yeah, the main detective or whatever.
And his comebacks, like when he's arguing with her, are like really stupid. And she's like, what does she say to him? She goes, when I find what's her name, I'll let you know or something. She said something to him. He's like, take a number. I don't know why. I just thought it was funny.
I like it when he's like, if you find that unique typewriter, you'll find your guy or whatever. When he's getting people back in the day used to cut out letters from magazines and then put them on like ransom letters and whatever. And then he's like, if you find a typewriter like that can type like this, whatever, then you find your guy.
He's
really.
They're all looking at him like he's an idiot.
Yeah,
and he types it and says that.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then exactly. I think it's funny that the younger sister works with Harry Crumb to help discover.
Yeah, that's Shawnee Smith.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying it's funny that she becomes like one of the main people that work with Nikki in the show, and she's like, "Yeah, I'll help you do whatever."
She's the one that really does it, does everything.
Yeah, I like the part where he goes to the hotel and he discovers that the ex or the wife is actually having an affair.
Oh yeah.
With two different.
He's Barnes.
Yeah.
He's that Arab dude.
With two different guys. The guy that she's trying to leave him with, like the hotshot, like tennis club pro or whatever, and then the other guy, which is I can't remember his name at the moment,
That's what I'm looking up right now.
He comes in, he blackmails her for sex.
Yeah, Jeffrey Jones.
That's right. Yeah. And he's recording. He's like hubba. No. He's like, what's going on? He's taking pictures and stuff.
Buenos Aires, is it?
Huh?
Buenos Aires.
Yeah, Buenos Aires. He figures out that's where he wants them to go, and that information leads to the end of like figure out where they're going. What's his name in the movie?
Harry Crumb?
No, his the other guy.
Tim Thomerson?
No, the other.
Jeffrey Jones?
Yeah, what's his name?
Oh fuck! I just had it.
I just watched this movie not too long ago. That's why I brought it up. But either way, the whole movie, he thinks that Elliot. That's right. He thinks Elliot's on the good side with him.
Yeah, he thinks. Yeah, and really,
Elliot's the one that comes.
Spoiler: he's the one that's the kidnapper.
He's the whole kidnapper the whole time. Yeah, it's funny when he comes. He's like, "Hey, give me the money." He's like, give it to Elliot Dreisen. He's like, "Who?" On the phone, he's like, "Hello, kidnapper. Can you hear me?"
I'm on the phone with the kidnappers.
Like,
yes, Crumbs. I know.
He's like, Elliot. He's like sucking. He gets the fucking
the
briefcase from him. Yeah. But I mean, I know we're jumping around in the movie a bunch, whatever. But yeah, Elliot's the big guy, and he's there the entire time with the family or whatever. Yeah. And his wife is just a money hungry whore, and she jumps around from Elliot to the other guy, and she's part of the kidnapping as well,
right?
Or knows, or she's in on it or whatever. I guess.
Well, no, she finds out later on. Remember?
Yeah,
because he finds her at the he invites her to the airport to go with him to Buenos Aires, and then she finds out he's the kidnapper.
And then she ties him up and puts him in the
baggage claim or whatever.
Yeah, the baggage claim or whatever, and leaves. And then Harry gets on the. That part is great though. He gets on the plane, like that car would stop the plane dead in its tracks, and like hits the door, opens up.
Oh.
He's like, "I must warn you. I know."
Like that.
Yeah, he tries to do something. All he does is kick his shoe off and hits him in the head. He's like, and the boots the match.
Yeah, and the boots the match.
Yeah, it's a good movie. That's a great John Candy movie. They have a lot of like good like one-liners in the movie, and it's one of those, like you said, it's one of his standout movies because he gets to act and not just be John Candy, but he gets to be many forms of John Candy and show off like how good he is when he can dress up and portray other people.
Yeah,
that's why I liked it. You know, I liked all the characters he played. You know, like you said, like going to the apartment, he acts like that foreign guy.
Yeah,
and then
the AC guy.
Yeah, the AC guy, and then like he becomes good friends with Nikki and the dad and rescuing the girl, whatever, and then he gets his own huge office.
Yep.
You know,
he gets hired finally.
He gets hired
You're
finally.
right, Elliot. That was a break.
Yeah. And then at the end, he dressed up as a drag queen with fucking lights in his hair.
Forgot about that one.
Yeah, right then he's like, "Hey," he's like, "Good luck, Harry." He's like, "Yeah." Something about like where he's going or something. I think he's going to New York. He's like, "There's murder?" "Yes, I'll be there." Whatever on the phone. Can you be there right away? "Yes, I can." It's not even supposed to be a serious movie. It's supposed to be like a corny, funny movie, but at the same time, it was kind of like a more serious role for him. But I just don't ever take John Candy serious. So to me, it was just a more of a funny role. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, he was good feeding off of people, but he was really great by himself.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, he was also like Farley, who had like little minor parts here and there.
Yep.
Home Alone,
Cool Runnings,
stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, you know, he's a major part in Cool Runnings.
Yeah.
But that was like towards like he's older like not end of his career, but like the middle of his career.
Yeah.
Where he was like, you know, he was funny in the movie. Smashing the pool table, sports betting. I love that part of the movie. Even though that's a Disney movie, it's all things, you know.
Yeah, if you think about it, yeah.
No, it really is. It's on Disney Channel, you know, or Disney Plus or whatever. Yeah, Cool Runnings. I mean, John Candy.
Is it?
Yes, it's a Disney movie. Yes, it's just like Heavyweights is a Disney movie, and people are like, "Oh yeah," like the '90s. People got away with more stuff, and Disney was okay with making funnier roles with Ben Stiller.
Yeah, that's true. Because I was thinking about there's a bunch of movies that were on there, unless they still are not. It had Tom Hanks in it that weren't very Disney-like. But then I'm thinking about like it's probably because just Tom Hanks was in it. That's why.
Yeah, I mean, and we talked about this on one of my other podcasts with my friends a long time ago. Where like I picked up Heavyweights. We talked about it. And it's like the amount of things they got away with in the '90s. There's no way they could make the movie like one.
80s, 90s, 70s. I mean, shit.
I mean, they made a movie about fat kids going to fat camp and being ridiculed about being fat. You know, it's like with body positivity and all that stuff going on. It's like no way you can make this movie. But they turned the movie from a negative to a positive at the end, which was a great way. And then Ben Stiller playing the over-eccentric crazy person trying to make them lose weight, and then his dad comes in and it's Ben Stiller again. You know,
right?
It was just it was comedy gold. Like that was a great movie with all the kid actors, and that they actually made a good movie with kid actors. And then obviously, John Candy's not in the movie by any means. I wish he was, but I don't know. I brought this movie up, but it was like I talked about it because it was like it's one of those movies you can't redo. They actually talked about trying to redo that movie. It's like what you can't fucking redo this movie. You would get your hand slapped, you know, everywhere.
You would not get. People won't watch it.
No.
You know, it's like the hell. Leave it alone.
It's kind of like the new Happy Gilmore coming out. Like, I'm excited to see another Happy Gilmore, but I have a feeling it's not going to be anything like the old Happy Gilmore.
No, because
even though it's on Netflix.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Well, Netflix, they can get away with more, but they can't get away with Hollywood as much because Hollywood, whatever, because all the shit that you have to.
Well, they can because they're their own entity.
They are, but they still have to follow the rule, their code, whatever they call,
Well, you say that, but then it's like they let Dave Chappelle go on there and talk about making fun of trans people, and they go on there and they got a lot of new comedians going on there. And all the every new comedian, all they want is their specials on Netflix because they can do whatever they want, and they get paid comedy gold money for doing it. But like, if they're going through a different person, I'd say, not saying that they don't meet agendas and the woke shit and all that other crap going on. They do, but I think they're starting to kind of. It depends on what area you're putting your movie and genre in, I think, at the end of the day. But they're
shut the fuck up.
Exactly. they're ones that are actually trying to bring comedy back, I think. Yeah. If there's anybody trying to do it.
That's because it's with the help of the comedians, of course. Mm-hmm. I mean, the comedians that are on there sometimes, some like Chappelle or even Jeff Dunham, they'll make fun of the network, but in retrospect, they're paying their bills, so they can do that.
Yeah, Well, that's what good comedy comedians do.
That's what made the shit funny back in the day when Married with Children was on Fox. Mm-hmm. They constantly made fun of Fox, or The Simpsons making fun of Disney and shit like that. They constantly made fun of that shit, but then they're the ones that pay their bills. They can do that. You
know what's funny? I heard this the other day because as much as I listen to Rogan on podcasts, I always have to bring him up every podcast, but. He had a comedian on, and he said, the thing that people didn't realize is, like, once somebody got really niche into a comedy role, like Jeff Dunham, you don't see people doing ventriloquist dolls anymore. Like, he's just the guy.
He is
right?
the only guy.
And, the way Chappelle does stuff, he's just the guy that does that kind of stuff, and other people do
because people want to, they think they're in their shadow, or they're trying to copy them, stuff like that.
Well, they want their own niche, and they want people in their own lane, and they want people to remember them for what they're good at doing.
Exactly.
And they don't want to be a carbon copy of anybody else. And it's like that's a cool way to portray it and stuff. So
it is, but then if you think about it, a lot of people who do some of these unique things, it's just like if they do something bad, that's what they're known for too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like it's the double-edged sword again.
Exactly, double-edged sword again. Exactly.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah. So anything else with Harry Crumb? Was there anything else that stuck out in that movie? I mean, like I said, it was a great movie. I watched it. No one ever told me about it, which was kind of cool. Like, I got to discover this movie on my own. Me and my sister both like it. Like, we always used to talk about it, like, oh, who's Harry Crumb? Like, love that movie. My dad likes that movie, too.
Yeah. What's not to like about it? It's a great movie, like I said.
It's just it's a great John Candy movie. It was like that role was kind of made for him. I feel like I don't know anybody else that could do that role in that day and age. I don't think there was many people. Maybe John Belushi, probably not.
No, probably not.
He's more of a Chris Farley, loud, obnoxious, center attention.
Yeah, he started it. Farley kind of copied it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could see that.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I will go to my last Ed Norton pick. So I had two. It was between two. We were going to do four. I picked Red Dragon as the one I was going to, but I'm not going to. I love this movie. I was going to talk about it just for a second. Is the reason I liked it was because, again, it was different Edward Norton role. You had fucking great actors in the movie. Obviously, it portrays Hannibal Lecter.
Right.
And, like, who the fuck doesn't like Hannibal Lecter movies, and who doesn't like...
TV show.
Yeah, the TV show Hannibal was good. What is it with Mads?
Yeah, I never know how you say his name.
Yeah, Mads, whatever. He's good, in the movie, or TV show, I'm sorry. But, yeah, it's like, when that movie came out, I remember seeing it. Dude, it broke some fucking numbers at the box office when Red Dragon came out, and the whole story about the Tooth Fairy, and like I liked how a guy like Edward Norton, who was good at looking into serial killers, went to the most serial killer person there was and tried to pick his brain, and he gave him bits and pieces, but at the same time he was working him, he was working him, so they were working each other.
Right. That's almost exactly how the show was.
Yeah, it was just cool because he Hannibal Lecter is that fucking intelligent. Like, he's this intelligent guy, but also at times is a psychopath. Yeah. So it was cool.
Yeah.
And like, there's nobody else that knows anything better than this guy, and it was just cool, like, him stepping through and showing him, like, this guy is evolving. Like, this is his first time doing this, whatever. So I won't go down the Red Dragon. I wanted to talk about it, but I like that movie. I'm actually going to download that on Plex again because I want to watch it.
Please do.
This is obvious. I mean, if you're an Edward Norton fan and you don't like this movie, you're a fucking retard.
If you say Hulk, I'm going to punch the shit out of you.
No, not a Hulk. When Hulk first came out, it was cool. No, it's the obvious. It's Fight Club.
Yeah.
this movie in 1999, I think, came out or whatever.
Something like that, yeah.
I remember because obviously going to the theater back then was fucking just huge.
The big thing, yeah.
And seeing the poster with all the soap on it, the pink soap, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" Like, and I saw the trailer for it, and everyone's like, "What did I just watch?" I remember the trailer was just it gave you nothing, like you just didn't know anything about it. It's like
because there's no such thing,
right? So you watch it, and you're like, "What is going on in this movie?" So it's again, this is just a well-made movie. We actually talked about this on one of my other podcasts. I'm gonna talk about it again because it's one of those movies you can watch and you're like once a year, and you kind of forget things and it kind of feels fresh watching it, but. Edward Norton portrays this guy, typical 9-to-5 guy. He's alone in New York. He has a great job. He lives in his nice apartment. He decks it out with all the IKEA things. He's really like I don't know if it's simplistic or if he's just one of those. I can't remember the word they used in the movie for him, but he likes to collect things. He's like almost I had the full collection of this and all these nice clothes and all this other stuff. Yeah. He was just, anybody else growing up in the world that's trying to, start their career and start doing stuff. And he travels around and does stuff as a job for safety, for car collisions, I think is what he does. And sees things like for manufacturers, for insurance, and to make sure that things are getting covered and what's not covered and how people are dying and, and stuff like that. So
he's your average Joe.
Huh?
He's your above average Joe.
Yeah, his job is weird. It's like he goes around I don't know if he works for the insurance company or if he doesn't work for the insurance company. I can't remember. And he just see if they pay things out or what's going on, and so they don't get sued and other things. But anyway, he comes back on a flight from doing that, and he meets Tyler Durden, who is played and portrayed by Brad Pitt, and he gets in a good conversation with him on the plane and tells him what he does for a living and what he kind of does and shows him he makes soap and all this other stuff on there. And he's like, okay, this guy's kind of fucking weird. And he gives him his business card or whatever. And he gets back from his job and his apartment blows up. And he goes in and he was just wrecked because he's like, I had everything in there. I had everything that was my entire life. Mm-hmm. And he calls Tyler Durden because that's the only number he has on a payphone, and the guy's like, "You didn't lose anything. Like it's all just stuff, That's what materialistic. Like that's what you've been programmed to think that you need. Like I need the big house, I need all this other stuff, I need a model in underwear, and like you talk about all that stuff." So they go to a bar and they kind of reminisce and talk about stuff, and then they get in a fight and beat the shit out of each other.
Right.
And that's when the movie starts like really taking off. I'll let you. Do you want to talk about it and go?
Okay,
keep going.
You're fine.
So from there. He ends up going to live with Tyler Durden in this rundown piece of shit house.
Exact opposite of
what he's used to. Like he's used to having all this money and stuff. And he's going to live more like poor and simple, like more simple.
Yeah.
So he starts living there, and then he starts realizing like he hates consumerism. I think that's what the word I was thinking about. He's very consumed by consumerism. But everybody pushes in your face. You're supposed to live like this kind of life, and he starts rebelling against the man, pretty much. And like he starts hating his boss, and they start talking about it. He's like, he asked him a question. Tyler or Brad Pitt does. And he's like, if you could find anybody who you fight, he goes, I think I fight Gandhi or something like this. Brad Pitt said. He goes, I'd fight my boss. Like he really hates his boss.
Yep.
He starts coming to work. He's smoking cigarettes in the office and fucking. He's got blood all in his teeth and shit from fighting and stuff.
Yep.
So what I didn't say is what they started figuring out is like they started out going to bars and just fighting random guys in the parking lot and become best friends. Like it was the greatest thing after. And then they start fighting. The whole thing of Fight Club is they have this underground club where they start where him and Brad Pitt, Edward Norton, they start this underground fight club in a bar, and it's exclusive and nobody talks about it. That's
rule number one.
That's rule number one. And every week they go down there and fight. And finally the owner shows up at the bar. He's like, who the fuck runs this or whatever? And then they beat the shit out of that guy or whatever. and he gets out of there. And then he's like, you guys can keep your fight club down here, pretty much is what he said.
Yeah.
Which is cool. And it was kind of like, they jump around a little bit in the movie, but it's like, you kind of still don't really understand what the fuck's going on at that point, right? Mm. And then they get this huge cult of this following because when he come to find out Edward Norton has a hard time going to sleep. And I think he has insomnia.
Yeah.
You start figuring out that he's kind of an insomniac where he sleeps and doesn't sleep. He forgets he loses track of time. And he figures out Tyler Durden, which is Brad Pitt, going around and he's setting up fight clubs everywhere around the United States, just not like where they live. I think he's like in Chicago and everywhere else. And he starts he starts finding like these plane tickets everywhere, and doing that kind of stuff. What I left out, and I have to go back now, is at the beginning, Edward Norton had a hard time going to sleep because he has insomnia. I just bring this up. So he's going to all these fake, what do they call them, like therapist sessions or like testicular cancer and all this other stuff. They go out and like grieve to help him get off his chest whatever he needs to get off. I don't know why he does it. I can't really.
I don't remember why.
Well, he goes to it, and after he starts going to it, it makes him feel better about his life, I think, and it helps him go to sleep. So that's why he's doing it. And then he ends up meeting the girl, and she's going to all the same ones he is, and she does the same thing for her own reasons. What's her name in the movie? Do you remember?
Fuck. Carry on.
So anyway, he meets her, and then they start arguing. He's like, no, you take testicular cancer on Tuesday, and I'll go here on Wednesday. He's like, ever since you came in my life, I can't fucking go back to sleep. Like, he needs it for sleep.
Right.
Like, it helps him go to sleep, whatever, and deal with his insomnia. So they start fighting, and then they actually become, like, friends after a while, whatever. And he introduces her to Tyler one night because she calls him on the phone at the house where they're living, and they start talking, and whatever, he invites her over, and then he fucks her. So anyway, going on from Marla. That's right, Marla.
That's right. That's Tim Burton's wife.
That's right. It's Tim Burton's wife. Yeah. So she comes over. She's kind of in the mix, whatever. Blah blah blah. And they start doing their own things where they're kind of like rebelling against like consumerism and big companies. And they have like this giant following of people that start working for Tyler out of his house, and they start kind of like doing terroristic shit, like, you know, fucking up companies and spray painting stuff on and stuff. It's on the news and stuff like that. And I'm not really sure the whole point behind it. I guess it was just kind of be the shutdown things they didn't like. But the big picture at the end was, because I'm not going to go into the whole story, there's just too much stuff to go into with time. They're doing this. They fuck around for control around the world, like, you know, around the New York. Like, they control like the politicians and the police and doing all this kind of stuff to keep their fight clubs, because they're trying to shut the fight clubs down because they find out about them. Mary pulls that guy in the bathroom and puts the rubber band around his balls and tells him he's going to cut his balls off. And you tell him the fight clubs are shut down and there's not going on with them or whatever.
Right.
He's like, we control your streets, we control your laundry, your food. He's like, don't fuck with us, pretty much saying, like, we work all the jobs that you need to use so you can run your life, and these are the people that are part of it, so don't fuck with us, pretty much, which I thought was a cool part. Yeah. But then Edward Norton kind of starts backing off. He's like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, he
realizes what's going on.
He's kind of rebelling. Like, he doesn't want to be part of it and stuff, and these people just keep showing up at his house, and they're fucking digging in his garden, doing all this stuff, like, they're burying bodies out there and doing shit. And he's like, what is going on? Like, he keeps losing track of time. He keeps forgetting what's going on. And he's like, what are we doing here? He's like, the first rule of Project Mayhem is we don't talk about Project Mayhem. You know, kind of same thing with Fight Club, because we used to ask all those people what they're doing in their house. You know, they're making the soap and doing all the bullshit. Yeah. And he tells them at one point in time, Tyler Durden, he's like, you know, there's enough soap, nitroglycerin soap, that you can blow up, you know, a building or a house or whatever. And he's like, why are you telling me this? You know? Right. And eventually the moral of the story is Tyler is going to blow up all the credit card companies, so everybody's debt goes back to zero, and creates chaos in the world. Right. You know, that's like the moral story at the end. And it was cool because it was like, that would actually be a cool thing. Everybody had their debt go back to zero, because fuck credit card companies. But
well, that's what they did back in the early 1900s. That there was a gangster that went around robbing banks, but all he robbed was he was burning people's mortgages and stuff like that. So that way the bank had no record of them owning property or whatever, so they can't foreclose people's properties and houses and stuff like that.
Kind of like Robin Hood type shit.
Yeah, kind of like that. In a way.
I know I kind of went off the story a little bit, because that's a 3-hour movie and there's so much shit, and going into it. But the moral story is, like, he's doing that, and Edward Norton trying to stop him at the end, and you know, and doesn't succeed. You know, stopping, and all the buildings get blown up, and they have the best seat in the house, where they catch him each in the end. And Edward Norton. Now, this is the twist. You figure it out at the end, is Edward Norton is actually Tyler Durden, and he's bipolar and has split personalities. Right. So he's doing both, and he's going back to his head. He actually, and which weird doesn't make any sense. He shoots himself in the back of the throat, but he's still alive at the end. Right. And he lives. Right. But by shooting himself, he got rid of Brad.
All the demons.
All the demons got rid of Brad Pitt out of his system.
Right.
Which was weird, dude. It was like it was such a well-made movie. It was kind of like a haunted man story in a little bit in a sense. But the whole movie was about consumerism and money and the way we're controlled by it all and stuff like that. Was like the moral behind the story. It took me a while to figure that out watching it.
It's basically telling people to wake up, and realize what's going on, what's really going on in the world.
Yeah, like these people are controlling us and they're doing all this stuff, making you think.
All these people who are we owe money to, because the people we owe money to are the people who are running the world, the country, kind of thing. That's what it is. And by him doing the Fight Club is kind of like fighting the greater good, so to say.
Yeah. Well, it's like letting these guys get together and beat the shit out of each other, get their stressors out, and they're best friends after the fight, and they all have like this thing they belong to, because there's a lot of guys that just feel like there are people in the world that are probably suffering and having they belong to.
And then they realize that there's more people just like them.
It was kind of like a therapeutic thing. That's what I wanted to say earlier. Like he went to those classes for therapy for his insomnia, and this was like his next therapeutic thing he was doing. But at the same time, it was also to be part of a cult and kind of have a following and do stuff that he was kind of controlling, you know.
I mean, I love the movie. I just didn't like the dragging out 3 hours long. I mean, like you said, it was a very well-made movie, but it's just, come on, man, come on.
Well, it's jumping around because he keep losing track of time where he's going. He's like, I feel like I've been here before. Have I been here before? Like he goes like people's basements and like bars, and you can tell that there's been fights there. It's still warm from the night before. He said,
well, that's the Tyler part of him. He's getting. They're sharing memories, or they're sharing experiences, but they just don't know who they're sharing them with.
Yeah, but he's the same guy directing him, and the other guy that's like, what the fuck's going on? Then people are like, what are you talking about? Like people are confused when he's asking the questions. They're like, sir, are you okay? Like, they keep like, is this a trick? Goes to the bar. He's like, yeah, you were here last week and said the same thing and asked me. So, you could tell because the bartender was all beat up and fucked up. Yeah, so it was like his brain started clicking. Yeah. It's just a well-made movie, dude. Oh, yeah. I liked it, and I think that it actually blew up Ed Norton's career even more. I think it was one of the biggest movies that blew him up was Fight Club.
That and American History X.
Sure, you're probably right. That was probably the first one, American History X. But Fight Club, it was just leagues better than American History X, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, you got to think it had the more well-known actors and stuff like that.
I think, and that's based off a book, I think, too. If I'm not mistaken, Fight Club's based off a book.
Probably. Meatloaf was pretty funny in it. I didn't know that was him at first. I was just like, really?
Meatloaf?
Ruben? Yeah, he's Ruben. I was just like, wow.
I like when we talk about Bob, the guy with bitch tits, when he gets to crying him because he used to take steroids or whatever. Yeah. And he ends up one of the guys that ends up getting killed with the Fight Club and have to bury his body in the backyard. Yeah. Yeah, it's just a good movie. I watch it time to time, but yeah, it's a long movie, but it's just a well-made movie. Yeah. It is true, though. We can kind of like segue off it just a little bit, and we'll talk about your movie real quick. That is one big thing with America is our consumerism of how we're consumed, about marketing, about buying shit all the time. And I'm very guilty of it. I think everybody's guilty of it, right? Oh, yeah. You feel like you need things and you want things.
Or that's how they want you to live.
Yeah.
The movie They Live is like way ahead of its time. It's so true that, we have our blinders on, so we don't really see what the big picture is. The people that are trying to run our shit, and that's what's hurting us, is that we don't know. Not everybody knows what's going on.
Exactly.
They think the ones that think they know what's going on, they're crazy. And people just need to wake up. You get a text from now?
No, I'm just reading some stuff from work. So, yeah, we'll wrap up Fight Club, and why don't you go on to your pick now?
The most well-known, probably John Candy movie out of anything that anybody's ever seen by him is going to be Spaceballs. Always and will be Spaceballs. If you guys don't know, Spaceballs basically is a spoof of Star Wars, a little bit of Star Trek, any kind of like sci-fi kind of movie. You have John Candy, who plays Barf, which is supposed to be like Chewbacca, so to say, where he's half man, half dog, so he's a Mog. And
a Mog, real quick. That's a real character, like a thing. A Mog's not like
they call them furries, don't they?
Well, maybe nowadays, but there's a video game I played Final Fantasy growing up, and it's called Final Fantasy 3. There's 2 and 3, and 3 is my favorite one. It's the best one of all time, and it's still considered the best one of all time with all the ones they have out. One of the characters in there, his name is Mog, and he's half man, half dog, or whatever, and he's a fucking strong character and has all this cool stuff, and he has a bunch of people that they call like Mogs or whatever on there, and I used to think that was fake, and I looked it up. I think that's where they base their character off. I don't know what fantasy thing it's based off of, or whatever, but that's actually like a real thing that's based off fantasy, just to let you know.
I suppose, for John Candy and Mel Brooks, it was because it was man's best friend.
Yeah, I know it was. I know. Mog, dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
But that's where they got it.
I was just throwing that out there. I just thought the same thing. I was like, this sounds fake and stupid. And then I looked it up, and I was like, dude, I remember this as a kid, like this name. Because it's one of my favorite games of all time when I played it as a kid.
That's probably what Final Fantasy I got from them.
He could have got them from me.
I think it probably was because Spaceballs came out there almost late 80s. Mm-hmm. Final Fantasy was like 90s.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, like I said, it's like a Han Solo and Chewie rescue the princess. They have Joan Rivers doing the voice of Dot Matrix, who's a droid-looking, maid-looking thing. And the evil Dark Helmet is Rick Moranis with a gigantic. He's like a Darth Vader with a giant fucking helmet for a head. And Colonel Sanders is his right-hand man, which is just them. The entire movie is just fucking hilarious. It just spoofs on everything and anything. It was it's cool. It was I thought one of the best things about it was the effects, the special effects with it was actually George Lucas's special effects team, and he said that Mel Brooks could use them as long as they didn't make any Spaceballs merchandise, which Mel Brooks never did. The stuff you see now, if you ever see any Spaceballs merch, is bootleg shit.
Oh, it's a third party, aftermarket shit.
Yeah, Mel Brooks does not own any of that kind of stuff, and he would not license it out because that was part of the deal.
Yeah,
and it's just.
That's
John
why
Candy's lines in that movie, and just like we ain't found shit.
Yeah,
that the little Mel Brooksisms in every single like scene in that.
That
movie.
was a perfect movie for John Candy.
Yeah,
but the merch thing was always funny when he told me that because he's like, we got Spaceballs, flamethrower, Spaceball. They show a merch table, and I think he was he kind of making fun of them poking the bear.
Yeah, he was kind of poking the bear, but at the same time, it's just making fun of Star Wars. There's everything Star Wars back in the early '80s and stuff like that.
Yep.
Everything was, and now even nowadays, it's like it's even worse now. I should say.
Yeah, it probably is.
It is. If you think about it, everything you look at Disney, look at Legos, look at figurines, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's poking fun at that, and I love that part. I love the little Rick Moranis' little parts here and there, and Mel Brooks has to star in his own movie, so he's Yogurt instead of Yoda, and the president. Do you know where he got the name President Scroob?
No, I don't.
If you mix the letters around a little bit, Scroob spells Brooks backwards.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, it's SKROOB instead of BROOK.
Oh, okay.
That's where you got it from.
Hail Scroob.
My friends and I used to do that in high school.
Yeah.
Whenever we say hail whoever, and we do that, and the teacher would look at us like, ha.
Well, that's funny that there's a lot more one-liners than kids could compare to movies back then. You don't see kids. I'm sure they do it in school a little bit, but not like it is.
They used to.
No, not like we did in our school.
Yeah, we got away with it more. Mm-hmm. Nowadays you can't get away with shit.
Nothing.
And then half the teachers are not as well versed in some of the stuff that we were when we were growing up.
Yep.
We could watch anything we wanted to. Kids nowadays have to have parental warnings and shit like that.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's weird because people just they won't know. They don't know any better because they don't because now they don't get to appreciate the movies like we did growing up.
Right.
That's why it's like when I showed like the old video games to my kid to appreciate them. It's like when he gets older, I'm going to show him the older movies to appreciate.
I can't wait till I want to be there. You have to promise me this. I want to be there the day you show him Blazing Saddles.
Blazing Saddles.
Blazing Saddles. Yeah. You have to show him.
That's a great Mel Brooks movie.
I really want you to show him, and I want to be there.
Okay, I'll do that.
I mean, he can watch Spaceballs now. It's that
you sure? It's I don't know if he'll comprehend and remember it, but I could show him to him now. He's starting to understand a little bit movies a little bit better. But it's still,
really understand.
It's still it's like the attention span.
Yeah, true. And you want to keep him off the video games.
Well, that too, but I don't care that he plays video games.
Well, no, I was just saying, you will keep that's the only thing in his life.
Yeah, hockey, video games.
Yeah,
iPads.
Well, I'll say one day it'll be girls and iPads and video games.
Yeah, porn.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, going back to Spaceballs, there's so many great one-liners in the movie, and them going and taking, and again, kind of like another love story type thing or whatever. He has to go rescue the princess because she's mad at the world and she doesn't want to marry some guy just because he's a prince.
She doesn't want to marry him because she'd be forced to marry him.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Kind of like Captain America.
Yeah.
Forced to marry. I mean, a lot of like the same tropes
Royalty kind of thing,
are overused a lot in the 80s and 90s, I think, for movies. Yeah. And I like the part where Pizza Hut comes on there making pizza, right? Coming on.
DeLuise.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then it's just funny, like at the end, like, what's his demise? He eats himself or gets eaten.
Yeah, he eats himself to death.
Yeah, which sounds so stupid, but it's so funny at the same time.
Right.
The power of the Schwartz is awesome.
Yep. So the Force. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they use that. I like the part where they gets like the shaving cream, or the part where he puts it in the guy's mouth. And it's like, I never get how that killed the guy. It's like you're knocking down.
That's the whole idea. He just does he just sprays it in his mouth and his eyes or whatever, and he does the Falcon neck pinch.
That's right, the Falcon neck pinch.
The thing for this old Star Trek.
Yeah, and then he he fights and he pulls out the sword and looks like a dick.
Yeah. I see your Schwartz is as big as mine.
Yeah.
See how well you handle it. The little sexual jokes in Mel Brooks movies.
You wouldn't do this movie any justice if you didn't talk about Rick Moranis in the movie.
Oh, yeah, of course. That's what I'm saying. Darth Vader's fucking phenomenal.
Rick Moranis, he makes the movie with John. I mean, John Candy's house in the movie. He's kind of more the not throwaway character, but he's kind of like the cameo guy that's in there, sidekick kind of guy. It's like Rick Moranis is one of the main, if not the main character in the movie, in my opinion.
Besides Lone Star, I'd say so. Yeah,
like the parts where it's like, are we filming right now? He's like, when's now? Now
when
is now.
When would them be now?
Yeah,
soon. How soon?
Yeah,
we just missed it.
What's that part where he said something and everyone grabs their dick at the same time?
Oh yeah. Whenever they find Vespa's car, and he says, he's like, she's not in here, and everybody covers themselves because then every time somebody fucks up, that's what they do.
Shoots him in the dick.
Yeah, shoots him in the dick.
We got the beeps, we got the creeps, we got the sweeps.
Yeah.
He still goes on and does.
Michael Winslow, yes, he does.
I saw him on a late night show not too long ago doing voiceovers, and he said I could do voice for some beats or something. I just saw it on Facebook not too long ago. I'm like, God, I'm so glad this guy's still alive doing this. Yep. That's a lost art. He might be one of the only guys who can do something that good. There's
a very few people that can do as many sounds effects that he does, but he would just sit there for hours and hours and just do that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I loved him in the Police Academy movies.
Police Academy was great. Police Academy, those are great movies too. Like those are movies that are.
Those were going to be movies I was going to talk about.
Those are underrated movies.
When we do franchises.
Yeah, that's an underrated. Those are underrated movies unless you've seen them. They're all. Like I really like the first two, but even 3 and 4 are good too.
I like 5 and 6. 7 sucked ass. I didn't like 7.
I think after 4 I stopped. I think I just didn't really enjoy him after that. But
because you like Steve Guttenberg.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. He wasn't in the last 3.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think about it, everyone that's in that movie has not been very much in anything else.
Mm-hmm.
That much.
No, they haven't.
I think
except Bart or whatever his name is.
Mike Winslow.
Winslow, yeah.
Because he does the noises.
Mm-hmm.
I remember him in a Bud Light, or not Bud Light. It was a Bud Light or Michelob Light.
I think it was Michelob Light.
I don't remember.
I can't remember.
Well, yeah, he was in one of those commercials back in the day, that kind of shit. And he was in Cheech and Chong.
He was really big in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, because he was the guy that did that.
Mm-hmm.
He was the only guy, just like the guy that could talk really fast for the Micro Machines commercial.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else could do that. Or nobody else did that. I should say. That was his niche.
That's in their lost thing that people don't. Micro Machines.
Jesus, dude, I had so many. I lost so many because they're so fucking small.
Yeah, those were cool.
Oh, those were awesome.
Those were really cool.
I'm surprised they don't make anything like that anymore.
I'm like anything. I think their resurgence are coming back. I'm sure there's a big collector.
You know what is back now that I saw? Mask. Mask is back. The movie, the cars that would turn into like war machine kind of things, where you had like the 57 Chevy that would turn into
so not Transformers, but something different.
It's kind of like Transformers, but not turned to robots. They're like cars that turned into things that had machine guns and rockets and shit and stuff like that on it.
Interesting.
If you've seen it, you'd be like, oh yeah, that thing.
Okay.
I'll have to look. Those are coming back.
I probably know what you're saying. I just haven't seen them.
Yeah, I know you are. I know you do.
Yeah,
but I just saw the other day that they're coming back with it, and it's like, holy shit!
Cool. Okay, I'll have to check that out.
It's like, dude, but it's gonna be expensive as fuck.
Oh yeah, like anything. Yeah. So going back to Spaceballs, just real quick, so we can stay on topic, because we can be off topic for fucking hours. Yeah, the movie's just well made. The combing the desert part, obviously, it's always we ain't found shit with the little picks, and they're all the black guy carrying the pick, which is fucking hilarious, And then You know, I got to carry my luggage, and her luggage has got this giant hair dryer and all this shit, like women, all these weird accessories. Like, why the fuck are we carrying this thing? You know, the chest burster at the end was awesome. Oh yeah, I remember those.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling.
That part's always
that's one part that sticks out in everybody's head is that part mostly.
The chest burster.
Yeah.
And it comes out and it's not an alien. It's like
oh no,
it's a different
not again.
Yeah.
It's funny because that was the same, that same guy was the same guy it happened to in Aliens.
Yeah, no.
There's that, like you said, there's the little Mel Brooksisms, whatever you want to call them. You got that part, and you got the oh shit, what is that one part?
Lord Helmet.
Darth Helmet.
Darth Helmet.
Oh, when he does the girl on the screen, he keeps popping up everywhere.
Yeah,
he pops up when he's in the bathroom. He's like, "Never, this is an unlisted wall."
Yeah, I like the part where he's in the bed with the girls and are asking,
Wrigley Gum girls.
Yeah. And he's like, he's like, I'm gonna beam myself down, and he beams himself, and he comes out his ass backwards, and then they beam him back.
Beaming, no more beaming.
Yeah, his ass was in front. He's like, what the fuck? And he comes back, and he's like, oh, I'll walk over. And
the door, my ass was so big.
Yeah, he walks over, and the door opens up in the next room over. Like, he had to beam himself over.
Like, he says, beaming, no more beaming. This time I'm gonna walk.
Yeah,
just walks up and right through the door.
Yeah, it's weird, but it's funny. I don't know if they did that in Star Trek too, where like the beaming was like right next door, and they just did it. I know. I thought that was always funny. Oh, yeah. But yeah, to me, Rick Moranis made the movie. I mean, John Candy and all them are funny too, but man, Rick Moranis in that movie, like to me, he made the fucking movie.
Yeah. He didn't make too many movies after that. His wife got sick.
I remember his wife getting sick, and people have asked him. I mean, we've talked about this before. Like, he said he would do another Mel Brooks movie.
Yeah, he said if Spaceballs 2, if and when it ever came out, he would come back for that. Mm-hmm. And there was talk last year of actually doing Spaceballs. They're actually writing it right now because Mel Brooks wants that to be
his last movie.
His last movie because he's in his 90s now. You know, he's old as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
He just did History of the World Part 2 TV show on Hulu.
Yeah, it's weird, dude. When you say Mel Brooks is 90, it just makes me feel old.
I know, right?
It doesn't sound right, but it's like that guy's gonna die here sooner or later. And
like we were talking about, me and somebody the other day, we were talking about Wes Craven, and he died when he was in the 70s or 80s, whatever, 70s. I'm like, dude, that means John Carpenter's in his 90s now, almost in his 90s now. Mm-hmm. Holy fuck, man! I remember watching him in the 80s and late 70s. It's like, god damn, his time's really fucking flying like that. It's just it sucks because all these great people, all these people that we grew up on are dying off.
Yep, it's weird, but it's also
it's life.
It's life, and it's just getting more surreal as things go on, right?
Yeah, it just like blows your mind that all these people that you used to watch when growing up with, or they're like your heroes and stuff like that, they're not going to be around anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they'll be around. Some of these people, like famous people, are going to be around with movies and CDs and stuff like that. But it's just at the same time, it's just like, fuck, man, really?
It is. And it's kind of sad. And it's like, even when we're talking about these movies, it's like these are great movies growing up from our time, and these will always stand the test of time. They'll always be around. I mean, even with the
they would never make the movies that we mentioned. They would never make another one like it.
No, and the movies that people like, they always come out with new movies and new shows and everything. Like, there's too much content to consume. But these movies will always stand the test of time as cult classics, and just like movies, if you grow up watching them, you're gonna have to tell your friends about them.
Right.
There's a reason why people still considered the 80s and 90s the best movies eras. It's because movies like these that were made. Yeah,
they were that back then. That's when they were original. They didn't carbon copy off anything. They just went with off the cuff and see what sticks.
Actually, I found out Red Dragon was based on another movie that was made before. It's like the same concept. It was like based on a different movie.
I know them based on the book too. I know that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I just heard that today when I was doing some research.
Anything Hannibal Lecter is a book first.
Sure.
Yeah.
I just meant there was a movie that was kind of portrayed like off Red Dragon, the same kind of stuff. I don't remember the movie was called, but some guy was talking about
Blue Dragon.
Yeah, Blue Dragon.
Is that a vibrator?
Yeah.
With new toys.
Yeah. What else is in Spaceballs that we forgot to mention?
Dude, there's so many. The Dink Dinks. The Dink Dink.
Yeah. Who are they supposed to betray?
Those I forgot the hell they're called. The guys that were in Star Wars who sold the droids to
Star Wars. Yeah. I know they're talking about. Yeah, they're the junk, the guys that go around.
The junkers, yeah. Whatever
they go around and they sell shit to people, kind of like traders and shit like that.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, okay.
Yogurt called them the Dinkums.
The Dinkums, yeah.
Or the Dinkies or something like
that. I mean, Yogurt, great character is Yoda.
Yogurt. I hate Yogurt. No, one of the funniest fucking parts that people don't realize it. is when Darth helmet is on the ship itself.
Mm-hmm.
He has the giant black helmet, but when he goes to the desert, he's got that giant safari fucking helmet on. Yeah, and he's got that wearing that instead.
Why is that? I mean,
it's just because it's the desert. It's just.
I've always noticed that.
It's just being goofy.
Okay.
And then part when he's talking to Colonel Sanders about the ludicrous speed.
Colonel Sanders.
He's like, "What's wrong, Colonel Sanders? Chicken." It's like nobody didn't count that. Just one of those movies. Like I said,
there's so many great. I mean, we bring up so many one-liners from the movie.
Mega Maid, dude, come on.
Huh?
I can't forget Mega Maid.
Mega Maid, yeah.
Mega Maid.
We changed from suck to blow.
She's not just a spaceship. She's a transformer.
Yeah, that was cool. All they wanted was their fresh air.
Yeah,
fresh canned air.
Yeah, fresh canned air. Yeah, Perry air.
Yeah, Perry air.
What was the code? Do you remember the password?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
3, 4, 5. This sounds like an idiot would have it on his luggage.
Hey, change my luggage right away.
Yeah, and then the door shuts on Rick Moranis. Ah!
Yeah, that was good.
Oh yeah, that movie's just all around fucking great.
Hey, I did not see you playing with your dolls again, sir.
Did you see anything? No, sir. Did not see you playing with your dolls again. Good.
Good.
Oh fuck. What's some other ones?
I mean, it's supposed to be a job about John Candy, so
yeah, I know.
Like
no, it's John Candy Spaceballs, but that's fine.
Yeah, again, it's like he plays the character Barf very well, and he's just a sidekick. But like in a lot of movies, that's how he usually plays. You know, he doesn't play a main character in many
Except
movies.
Except for Harry Crumb and a couple other ones. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
He's always the sidekick, but he's the funny ass fucking sidekick.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, like I said, Cool Runnings. He's more of a main character.
I've never really seen that. I don't think so.
He's the bobsled coach.
Yeah, I remember,
you know what I'm saying?
Jamaican bobsled team. Yeah, I remember that.
It's a well-made movie for him being in it. If you're sat down and actually watch it, you would enjoy it because John Candy's actually funny in the movie, and
he probably carries the movie.
He does, but it's kind of serious, but he's also funny in the movie, and there's some funny parts. I mean, is it kind of dated? Sure,
of course.
But if you watch it, you would appreciate it. I guarantee it. It's not like it's just a little kid movie that you think about Disney. It's actually, I mean, I've watched it last year. I was like, oh, this movie still holds up. It's still good.
Right. Okay. Well, give it a shot.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth it in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, John Candy has to.
Yeah. Anything to say about our movies?
I think we had a great list. Of course, we would do other actors with great movies that we thought were either underrated or just all around great that we like talking about because that we can talk about.
Yeah, I feel like most of these movies are not considered underrated movies.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe Harry Crumb a little bit because I don't really, unless you're a big John Candy fan and know about it. But for the most part, I'd say most of these movies are all well-known cult classics at this point now. I don't even consider it a cult classic. I forget what the definition it is, but to me, all these
classic in general.
Yeah, it's a classic movie. Yeah, I wouldn't be going without our bonus topics.
Of course. I have no bonus questions for you, though.
Huh?
I have no bonus questions.
I know, because you don't do your homework.
Yeah, I did it last time.
You don't do your homework and like we always say, you got to do your homework.
What you got?
Well, this one was more off the cuff anyway, but I always got to come to the podcast. It's my podcast.
Well, yeah.
It's not your cousin's podcast. It's my podcast.
Right.
Or it's actually your cousin's podcast or our cousin's podcast. These are just kind of random questions I've just pondered and thought about or whatever. So if they're cool, great. If they're not. Do you ever wake up and have denial about your age?
All the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's sometimes I feel very refreshed, like I'm 15 years old. Just like, all right, man, I'm ready to fucking destroy this day. I'm gonna be the best I could be.
Be productive.
Other days, I'm just like, I get up and let my knees pop or whatever. My leg hurts. I'm like, God damn it, motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
I feel so goddamn old. I don't want to do anything. My dichotomy, my range of ages differ like almost every day.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm out of my sleeping age right now, so I've only on 2 hours of sleep,
mm-hmm.
and it's just I feel at my age because I'm like, dude, I used to get 2 hours of sleep and fucking drink till 6 in the morning, go to work at 8 o'clock in the morning. It was nothing. Now it's like,
well, your body's just a well-oiled machine back then. Like
you know so well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's just that's what I was used to, and I did that so much. Now it's
just does catch up with you.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, it will too because you're not even 40 yet, so
mm-hmm.
you're getting there.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes me feel old.
Don't remind
Hearing
me.
your age makes me feel older.
Yeah, I know.
It's just like, dude, I remember when you were 10 years old hanging out, at your house or even
kind of like Lincoln.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And that's why when I see him, I was just like, well, fuck, man. I remember that was little Randy right there.
Well, my mom sometimes cries. She'll be looking at Lincoln. She's like, that just looks like you. And like, he acts like you, the same mannerisms, does the same stuff. And it's like, yeah, he's a carbon copy of me. Kind of.
He is,
Everyone's like, you should have called him Little Randy. It's like, fuck, my mom calls him Little Randy. So is my fucking, my mother-in-law. Sometimes like, come here, Little Randy, or whatever. And like, he's like, I am like Little Randy.
Well, mom's senile, so she can do that.
Yeah, that's true.
What about you?
Yeah, the reason I asked it because my birthday just came up, whatever, and yours not too long ago, and I sometimes I wake up in the morning, and it's kind of nice when I get there early and I get to sit there and think and have some coffee and just kind of chill. It's like there are definitely days I wake up, I'm like, holy fuck, do I feel 38? Like I'm tired, like you said, things are popping or what's going on. It's like my brain's not, it's like doesn't wake up, and it's like, what is wrong with me? Like, I just don't feel like normal and feel good. Like when I was in my 20s, I used to wake up and just feel good every day, and like you just only think about it. It's like, oh, I'll wake up, roll out of bed, and feel good and ready to start my day.
No, it's
like it's like at least once a week. I wake up at least two or three times a week where I didn't feel like I get adequate enough sleep, and I don't feel good. I can't think. I got brain fog, or I'm just like run down and tired. I'm like, man, what is wrong with me? I'm like, I'm going to bed. I'm getting enough sleep. I eat well. I drink, and enough fluids. Blah blah blah. And do all my due diligence. And you wake up and you're like, it's just your age. It's like not every day is gonna be perfect, And you have to power through a lot of days, and I hate those. And you're just dragging ass and stuff. And
yes.
I think
I've been doing it right now. I've been up since 7 o'clock.
Yeah, I've been up since 7 o'clock too, or like 6:30, and it's like you wake up and you're like, oh, maybe I'll take a nap today. Like I never used to think about taking naps, but it's like sometimes you're just so tired. Like, man, I need a nap today. Like I can just tell. Like my brain just tells me, it's like, you need a nap today.
I need like I tell people, I need to turn off for like an hour and a half, if that.
I told my wife,
it works.
For some reason, I can tell that when I'm on my phone more, I feel mentally fucking drained and I don't feel good. And it's like,
you're looking at the screen.
I know. I told my wife, and it's like, there's just some days I'm like, I need to get this thing away from me.
Yeah.
Like I'll plug it in, like I've told you before. Like sometimes I'll just go plug it in and put it on my nightstand. I'll just try to forget about it for a couple hours, and it does my brain good.
That's why I yell at you whenever you go on the hard page and you comment like, God damn it, I got. He's giving me work to do.
I know. I like to talk with you.
I have calluses on my hand from holding my phone. And you could see them and shit.
Well, that's why.
Because people. I have one of those too. But see, mine's retarded.
There's your. Yeah, I got that too, but I got that same little thing right here too.
I need to get one of those type things.
I saw some guy in Chick-fil-A have one of them.
Jen got them before they were popular.
Yeah, it makes my finger.
I actually
strong.
have a
makes
pop
my
socket.
finger strong.
I have a Beavis pop socket.
Yeah. There's better pop sockets you could probably get for holding and putting your hand.
I have a Beavis one. I just it keeps popping off, and I can't use it because I got the magnet.
Yeah. So going back to my topic was though, it's about your Beavis magnet. Yeah, there's days I definitely feel my age, but there's a lot of days I'm just in denial. I'm like, dude, I just don't feel 38. I don't act 38. I don't think like I'm 38, but I do. There is times I'm like, man, I'm more grown up every single day. Like I act more grown up. The people I hang around once in a while, like the hockey rink with Lincoln, like I have to act more grown up around them for his sake, and my own sake, portray like, Lincoln's a good kid and we come from a good family and all this other stuff. And I got to put my fucking good hat on all the time. I can't talk. Like you said,
your dad hat.
Your dad hat. You know how it is. Like you can't talk, like, you can't be cussing and talking like a degenerate in front of the people and doing stuff, right?
I know, right?
You said it's
no, I do. I still watch it.
But when we're around people you are and you've opened up and like you're comfortable, I'm sure you can act who you are out of the box.
But just when like you said, when I'm around Lincoln, I got I watch myself. And let me ask you this, because the goes on along lines of your question. Does it make you feel older that I said you're 38, or would it make you feel older if I said you're 2 years and a decade away from being a quarter of a century old?
I feel like that makes me older. Like some of my friends I play video games with, they're like, Jesus, Randy, you're 38. Like, dude, you're 12 years away from being 50. Like, how's that feel? And it's like,
after this year, I will be 4, dude. I'll be 4 years away from 50.
I know. It's wild to think.
Fuck, man.
Like my mom's birthday is today, right?
Yeah.
So happy birthday, Mom.
Yeah. How old is she again?
64.
Damn.
And there's days I look at my mom and dad, and I was telling my wife this morning, I said, I look at my parents and your parents, and I don't look at them like they're old. Like, I just don't, like, the way they talk and what they carry themselves, like, they're in good shape and good age, in health for their age. But when I see other people, I'm like, look at that old fuck. Like when they piss me off, like driving or doing whatever, I'm like, you old motherfucker.
Right.
But then I thought down, I'm like, man, that's going to be my mom and dad eventually. Like just these old fucks, they don't know how to drive and like they're senile. Huh?
Shit themselves. And
Yeah. They need help or whatever. But
Right.
the moral of the story is it's like, no, I just don't look at myself and I don't feel old. You know, like I'm saying, like I still play hockey and I'm playing with 20-year-old kids and I'm keeping up and I'm still either just on par with them or better than them. And it's like, okay, well,
I'm better than a 5-year-old.
but it's not saying like I'm better than them. It's like, I just feels
you
good.
Keep up with them.
It just keep up with
keep up with them.
I keep up with the youth.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
can I do it?
You know the what's the brain words, like the lingo and stuff like that. You keep up with your finger on the pulse. You know, you don't let it pass you by. You don't let it pass you by because you're keeping up with it.
I like to stay young.
Yeah, there you go.
And that helps me stay young, but helps me stay in shape and do whatever else. But also being around younger kids kind of does keep you feel like you're your age and check you a little bit.
Sometimes you got to do that.
But at the same time, trust me, after I'm done playing hockey, I feel 38.
Oh yeah.
You know, like some days I feel great afterwards. Sometimes I feel really tired. And some of my friends are like, I could play 2 or 3 games in a row. I can play 1 or 2, but like after 2, it's like, dude, I couldn't do this again. Like when I was a kid, I could play like 6 games in a row.
Right, exactly.
My dad like, can you play? Like he would just let me play. I could play 5, 6 games. Right. Not fucking tired, go off and you go fucking, jump off a wall and bungee jump and do whatever else. I'm trampoline or whatever. Now I'm done. Like I'm amped up afterwards, but it's like, man, I need a nap or I'm tired. Like those.
It's not even noon. I want to need a nap.
That's like the stuff I'm in denial about. Yeah. It's like someone said it best. It's like
how did I let myself get like this?
Yeah, it's just like in denial. It's like where did my energy go? Where did all my stuff go? It's just your body breaks down and things go. I am in denial about my age. Like I don't wake up and I don't think I feel like I'm 30. Like this year is our 20-year anniversary for high school reunion, and I was just talking to the girl I grew up.
Get me started.
I know the girl I grew up with, Tara. I think I say her last name on here. She was one of my good friends growing up, like one of my best girlfriends. We used to have crushes on each other. We dated once, or whatever. I think we kissed once, or whatever. I think I remember when we were kids and stuff, whatever. But we've always been like childhood friends, and we went from grade school, middle school, went to the same high school, and then she got married to some guy she dated in high school, and I haven't seen her in like 10 years, but I messaged her on Facebook. She wished me happy birthday, and we started talking, going down fucking memory lane for like half an hour, and we like reminisced about some funny stuff. And she was our class president. She was one of those people that everyone liked. She was cool with everybody, nice to everybody. Gotcha. She was not one of those kind of girls that were like snooty or anything else.
Right.
She's like, dude, I'm so tired with all my stuff going on with my own parents and my kids. And she's like, I don't even care about the high school reunion. She's like, I don't have time to plan or do anything. So other people are planning it. Yeah. I was like, do you know about it? She's like, yeah, they said it's in the work. It's supposed to be this fall. But she's like, I can't even tell you if I can go to it, if it's going to happen. She moved to Springfield. And I was like, okay. And to be honest with you, I kind of want to go. And I've said this before. It's like, even though I feel my age, I want to see how everybody else looks. Like, do they look their age? Do they look older? What are people doing?
Right.
Want to see like
how many kids they got,
and just like see what people are doing. Yeah, and the funny thing is, being in St. Charles, we're such a small area in Missouri. It's like everybody kind of knows what everybody is doing with their lives.
Not even that. It's just it's in life in general. Because if you think about, they say it's a small world. Well, it's fucking true. Mm-hmm. I lived in Florida for 3.5 years, and I worked with a guy at Dunkin' Donuts for I don't know, like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, something like that, until I went on to a different job. When I worked at Harris in 2003. I waited on his ass. He showed up in my window, and that's in Missouri, half country away.
Yeah.
And I was just like, dude, I totally remember you. And he's like, fuck yeah, dude.
It is weird how you run into people you least expect. Like we went to Florida one time, we ran into somebody. I went to Mexico, and like the people we were hanging out with were from St. Louis. Yeah. Like all the places in the world, you guys came to the same place from St. Louis the same time we did, and we're hanging out with people around our age. I mean, it is weird. It is a small world how that kind of stuff happens. So yeah, that's a little bit denial of my age. Your Timmy, Lord of the Underworld shirt just got delivered. I gotta say that out loud. I hit the mic this time, not Tim. God damn, it makes me mad. That just got delivered. I told you 11, 12 o'clock they usually get delivered. So next time I see you out to bring it, you can see your cool Timmy shirt. So yeah, I'm in denial of my age most of the time. I think my mom and dad are the same way. Like they talk about, she was telling me the other day, she's like, I just don't feel my age, and but she is. I mean, she tells me when she goes off work, she's like, she has this funny word. My mom always says, "I'm exhausted." It's her favorite word to use. She's been saying it for like a year.
She's always said that.
I told her I'm gonna get her license plate. I said I'm exhausted and put it on her car because it's just that's all she says. I thought it'd be funny, like it's kind of like a joke for her birthday. So I'm looking to get her one.
Get like a fake vanity plate or something.
That's what I was gonna do.
Yeah, or get her like the warning sign that I bought and I made the
warning I'm exhausted
one. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So yeah, denial about your age. Yeah, I think that happens with everybody. I think it's just one of those things that happens. I got a couple more, and then you can play on your phone. Yeah, Harry Potter's on there.
Watching your movie.
Okay. This is something that somebody said the other day, and I was like, I kind of put this in perspective. He was on a podcast listening. He goes, the older you get, the more the weekends feel like a 30-minute lunch break. And I was like, you know what? That's a great quote. You mean how stupid it is?
Time? The older you get?
The older you get, weekends feel like a 30-minute lunch break because how fast your lunch goes by, right? He was kind of just making a point, and I was like, you know what? Every day seems like it goes by faster, but the weekends just are because you don't have to work or do anything, but there's just so much shit on your plate. It goes by so quick.
Yeah.
I used to think that was a joke. My parents used to say that, but it's like, because, when you're a kid, the days drag, the weekends drag, everything drags,
Right.
And it doesn't drag. We've talked about time, as you get older, how much more responsible and things you got going on. But yeah, it just hit home with me, and I want to talk about it. It's like, do you ever feel like that Monday through Friday, it seems like it's long because you got shit going on. But like when you and Jen got shit going on the weekends, on Saturday and Sunday, you're like, holy fuck, it's Monday already.
Morning already.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. It's like you said, it's the age thing. It's just you feel it. You just, man, this too fast.
Mm-hmm.
We get so much stuff done, even when you don't do much during the weekend. It still feels like it flies by.
Mm-hmm.
You try to do what you can to prolong it, and it doesn't work. It's just you can't. It doesn't work. It's 2 days.
The only thing I've noticed where the days don't fly by is if I wake up earlier. It seems like the days are a lot longer, but even when I wake up early, I have so many activities. It's the activities with my kid. I'm like living at sports with my son or my daughter.
Yeah.
Those sports make the day go by so much faster. But also, I said this there too, but I don't even do like much physical stuff, but waking up and getting my kid ready for hockey and doing all this sort of stuff, it makes me exhausted. Like by the time I get home from his sports, all I want to do is lay down and take a nap or just chill. It's like, I haven't even done anything all day. And it's like, but I've been running around with a 6-year-old and micromanaging him all day and, doing stuff. So that always drives me nuts, but not that drives me nuts. I love it, but it's like, by the time I get home, I'm like, I got to get all this stuff done. I'm like, I'm so tired. I don't want to do anything. And that's another reason. It's like the weekends are supposed to be for rest. Like Sunday is always a rest day in my house. I think I've said this before. It's like, that is one day I actually do cherish in my house is Sundays.
Yeah.
And I get to go to church with you.
You going to church? Fuck you.
Yeah, you are. You're a churchgoer.
Never.
And I don't even go to church that much either. It's just Sunday's a good day. It's the Lord's day in Tim's house.
It's the underworld, the underworld day.
Yeah. So we can relate to this as another one. How many jobs have you worked in your life? We'll just say this. How many jobs did you work?
Ballpark 10, if that.
Okay, and how many have you that you actually worked that there was a lot of people above you in the job? Not like a lot, right?
Yeah, like especially Harris.
So at Harris,
I was like the bottom of the totem pole,
right?
Compared to...
So this guy, a really great point I was reading. He said, if you go through your life, you can realize most people that are in the bottom or middle are more worker bees, and so I'm not saying everybody's a great worker, but there are a lot more good workers in those areas. I was like, yeah, that guy makes sense, whatever. He said, how many times have you been in a job? How many incompetent people are in important jobs? And it's like, holy fuck. If you sit down and think of it, because I used to make a joke about it at work, it's like, oh, this person sucks at their job and does whatever. But the more I think about it from my job perspective, ones I've been through, there is so many people that I know that are just incompetent, and they got their way to their job somehow. I still can't figure it out, but they're just terrible at their job, but they're like solidified in their role. And they make twice as much money as I do. And it's like, that's how the world is. There's so many people that are in the competent jobs. And that's what I was going to ask you. How many jobs have you been to or there's just people you can think off the top of your head, like, holy fuck, I had to work with this person. I had to take care of them and babysit them and do stuff.
There are so many times, where, like, especially like at Harris or like Taco Bell, it's just like, for one, I don't know how they got the job. Two, I don't know how they got how did they survive this long in life, because they're such ditches, dumb fucks, whatever you want to call them.
Mm-hmm.
Every name in the book.
Mm-hmm.
If I kicked you, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
It's just like, 12 billion sperm in one shot, and you're the one that got through, man.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like whenever I hear somebody, so and so's got a promotion, or we're looking at so and so for a promotion. It's like, in my chopped liver, I've been here so many years, or if I can do this, I can do that. I show up on time. I have a better track record than they do, and it's just like, well, fuck you for looking me over, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I left a lot of jobs, because I was underappreciated, or I was ridiculed for like the littlest thing. I don't want to say any racial stuff here, but I used to work with a bunch of Puerto Ricans at Dunkin' Donuts in Florida, and it's just like I felt like I was dirt because they were sitting there always talking about me in Spanish. I could tell because I heard my name, but it's just like, dude, really, what the fuck?
Yep. But I've worked plenty of jobs, and there's been multiple times. I'm not even going to name where I've worked. I mean, my current job I'm not going to name because there's plenty of people that work there now, but they're fucking incompetent as fuck.
I get to that.
And the funny thing is a lot of people look at me, it's like, because of who I am, I'm a jokester. And they're like, oh, Randy's always joking or saying this at work, whatever. But I'm a good worker at the end of the day. I am a good worker.
Exactly.
But because of my perception of how I'm joking and doing stuff, it kind of haunts me at my job.
Yeah.
And people hold perceptions of me from being younger and doing stuff, which really sucks. But at the same time, I don't care. Because I'm not going to change who I am to fit some fucking fake agenda at work to be fake, and like a lot of these people are.
Yeah.
So like you're saying, either it's like they'll joke about me, but then when something comes down, like they need something done, who are they coming out to? They're reaching out to me, because I can get the shit done and I know what I'm doing and I am intelligent, and I think they know that about me. But they're like, well, these are things that might hold you back in your career, because it's like, you know what, I don't care. Like I just don't care. Like, if that's what's going to hold me back, if my work doesn't show and speak loud enough for me, if there's some weird perception holds me back about that. So it's like, but let's hire incompetent people and put them over me. Like for example, I'll just say this one thing and then I'll move on to the next topic. It's our last one for the bonus. Is one time I was supposed to be hired into this job. What I do at work now, I'm a collaboration engineer. But at the point in time, I was going to be a collaboration analyst, or UC analyst, you can call it, right? Which is stuff to do with working from home and AV stuff and blah, 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 whatever, if you know anything about it, right? Collaboration, WebEx, Teams, that kind of stuff. Some dipshit got hired in the company to the position that I was supposed to get hired. I was supposed to be the shoe-in for it, right? I was training, cross-training, doing all this stuff for this job. They hired the guy over me from outside company because the guy that got hired in was friends with them and said, this guy would be a great fit for the role that you guys are hiring for. So he got hired over me. And they told me that he was qualified for the job. He wasn't qualified for the job. And then they had the fucking balls to ask me to help cross-train him for the job that I was applying for. And I looked at them and said, you're telling me this guy's supposed to be qualified and knows more than me, but you want me to train him to do his job? I was like, no fucking way. So I didn't do it. I let everybody else do it. And they're like, well, that kind of, you're not being a team player. And I was like, no. I told them, I was like, no, fuck you guys. I'm the one who trained for this job for fucking 3 or 4 years. And the position opened up. I should have got slid right in. Should have been even a lateral move, and you guys could have given me the promotion later. I didn't even care. I just wanted the job. Yeah. And then you hire dipshit out of a company, and it's like since he's been in our company, he's been incompetent. He's never been good at the job, what he's doing. And he was like a project manager, and it's like, this guy doesn't know how to do anything IT or technical.
Right.
So it's like perfect example. I just thought about it in my head. It's like,
that's a perfect example of me being a former boss. That perfect example of using the F word, favoritism. Mm-hmm. That's the worst. What's worse than saying "fuck" in the boss's face is saying that you're showing favoritism, and because that makes them look really fucking bad. If it is, because that's what people do is they hire people that they know that they Well,
sure, nepotism, favoritism, and people they know like helps out or whatever. It's, it's the world about who you know, but it just pissed me off beyond belief, Tim, because it was like, dude, I could work circles around this guy fucking blindfolded or blind, and you guys are going to hire him in and want me to train him? I've held a grudge to this day to the guy who did that, and I'll never let it down when he ever talks to me. It's like, dude, you remember when you hired this dipshit over me and you wanted me to train him? It's like, yeah, I don't forget that kind of stuff. That's something I will actually hold a grudge on. And even my boss now, he's like, he was working with me before he was my boss, and no one understood why he got hired over me. So It's just one of those things. So, Okay, last one. Another thing about a job, and this guy said this in a quote, and I read this on the internet yesterday. I wrote it down because I thought it hit home. And you can speak about it. Fuck your wife. Our wives can speak about it. Anybody can speak about it because I think it really does hit home. They said, he's like, I never understood the mentality of all these people that are like, you got to hop around and find different jobs and do this stuff and chase the money. He's like, I just want a job that pays me well and pays me enough so I can enjoy my job, enjoy my life, and live comfortable. He's like, isn't that what the American dream was supposed to be? Like, you find a job, it pays you well, you get all the good benefits and all the stuff you're supposed to need, and it's like, what's the point of job hopping and going around?
Exactly.
Because you could never get to get settled in. You're always in a new environment. You never get to meet people and do all that stuff. And I was like, you know what? I'll speak to it first, and then you can, and we'll wrap it up. I think he's right, because one of the first things I was told at my company when I got working there was, like, if you want to make money in this company, you have to job hop from job to job around it so you can keep getting different pay bands and doing stuff. It's like, that sounds fucking awful. Like, the moment I find a job I enjoy, like, sorry, go to do a different job so you can make more. Like, don't ever be satisfied or complacent where you are. It's like, what's wrong with being complacent if you really enjoy your job?
Exactly.
I just never got that, right? Yeah. If I'm good at radio, I want to be a DJ, I'm not going to jump around to go different jobs just because they pay me more. It's like, if I find a job with good people and they pay me well and do whatever, it's like, that's how your job's supposed to be. Do something you enjoy, get paid well for what you do, and you'll keep me as a satisfied employee, and I'll come to work every day. You know, that's why these people job hop around, because everyone's looked at as a number or replaceable. And to me, it's weird. You know, even my job now, it's like I've stayed there for almost 15 years, and I've been underpaid for maybe like 3 or 4 of them, or even longer probably. But because they're a good company and they have good perks and stuff, I've stayed there. So it's like it kind of outweighs the money situation. But it's like, yeah, if I was paid a little better, it's like I would never even think about leaving a job, you know, if you got compensated well for what you do. So my point was, yeah, everybody always wants a job that pays them well, and everybody should get paid well for doing the job they do. That's just what I think nowadays. Yeah. You know,
well, that's true. I mean, the old saying is, love what you do what you love what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, people hopping around, that's kind of like the double-edged sword kind of thing. Because if you think about when you're a kid and you work at McDonald's, you don't want to be just a fry guy every day. You want to learn the front register. You want to learn how to make burgers and shit like that. You know, you want to hop around. But once you get older, like you said, it's a pain in the ass, because then if they know that, if your boss knows, like if your company especially, if you hop around from different positions or different divisions or whatever you want to call them, departments, if your boss knows that you are not just an IT guy, but you also empty trash cans, he's going to say, hey, if I need Randy for this, I'm going to have him do this, and I'm going to pay him less, because that's what he's going to do anyway. He's going to, you know, that's how they see it. They see all these skills in the same job type, same company. Then they're not going to pay you, because they're going to expect you to do it.
Exactly.
And that's what hurts people is that, you know, people are put in positions that they're not paid enough for their wealth, not or their what's the word, the worth. They're not, you know, and that's what sucks. A lot of people, that's what hurts everybody so much, is because they're getting paid for shit they shouldn't be doing, or, you know, or whatever.
Some guy made a great point at work, who's like, because I don't speak up in meetings anymore, because he's like, when I have a good idea and I announce it to everybody, guess who gets that has to do it? He's like, I have to do it. He's like, even when I'm just giving out an idea, if I said like, hey, we could improve such and such if someone could do this, and then all of a sudden it becomes my job that I have to do. And he's like, that's part of work. He's like, which I don't enjoy. He's like, don't tell me to share feedback if it's going to become my job to do it.
Exactly.
You know, or like you said, you could tell them that you have all these skill sets, and then they'll pay you less, but you're expected to do more with less. Like, you know, that's one of the fake jokes we have at work, is like, do more with less. You know, we'll keep giving you guys more work, but we won't hire anybody else, because you're expected to do more. And you're supposed to wear more hats at work. I think all jobs kind of stretch people thin a little bit and do that kind of stuff.
Of course. So that way they hire less people.
Well, they know they have the power over you, because
that too.
You have to have the money, and it's your job, right? And you're told what to do. It kind of sucks. And that's what I hate about jobs that take advantage of people. And my job definitely does that, takes advantage of people. My boss sometimes does that. He's like, oh, he'll volunteer me to do stuff, or voluntold me to do stuff without even asking me. It's like, cool, dude. Like, you know how much a 5-minute conversation would go with me if you just have this conversation to ask me first by not telling me? I hate that about jobs. Oh, Rainey can do it. It's like, did you even ask me? Right. You know, because the answer, he's like, well, if I ever was asked everybody, everyone's answer would be no. It's like, that's not true. If you sat to me and it's like, hey, we had to do this for X, Y, and Z reason, and I'm picking you because I know you're a good job, you can do this, blah, blah. It goes a lot longer, just like, hey, sign this ticket, Rainey can do it. Right. That's what I hate. I hate about some of that stuff at work.
Yeah, they just pawn the shit off on you and expect you to do it.
Exactly. I know how the shit flows downhill and does whatever, but yeah, I was always told you need a job hop around at my job, or just any job in life. And it's like, I have friends, that's all they do, but they never seem happy. Their jobs they have no job security. One of my friends actually just left the company I work at. He was almost there for 10 years. Within a year and a half, he's been laid off, and he's been laid off for 6 months, and he can't find another job. And it's like, he's asked me, he's like, can you help me get a job back at, you know, where we work and where I work for? And it's like, no, dude, I can't. Like, you're going to have to do that on your own. Like, you shouldn't have left. Here after 9 years, you should have job hopped within the company, not outside the company. But people, the grass is always greener saying, you know, it does go a long way, but there's something about people with money and how they're money driven. I'm not driven off work just because of money, unless it's some astronomical fucking stupid number.
Right, of course.
You know, the work-life balance for me, working from home, is more important than it is just having the extra 50 grand a year. You know, 50 grand goes a long way. I don't know, dude. My mental health and my sanity would go a lot longer. You know, that's just the way I look at it. Or I wouldn't be able to come over and do this on my day, working, podcasting like right now.
It balances and shit. You know, you know, they don't know what the fuck you're doing.
No. So yeah, it would be cool if they pay people more. I mean, and you can look at Jen upstairs or anybody else. I mean, do you think she would love, you know, her job, doing stuff she did, or got let go if she you know really enjoyed it and got paid better? I don't know, dude. It's just those are conversations you're going to answer for people.
She's been sick the last week and she's worked from home the entire time. They don't care.
Exactly.
As long as she's doing the work. You know, she's showing that she's working and she's on time. So like, well, with that part, but
well, you can log in your phone and say,
she's still logging in.
You're logging in and say you're out online. Right. You know, actually, my wife's tracking someone down now. It's funny. I got to actually tell my friends about this. We started hiring people from Costa Rica because we have an office out there now because we've expanded our business. We're global, you know. And the guy logs in and says he's online, and I said, babe, he's probably got like a mouse mover, like a wiggler, or he just moves his mouse every so many hours to say that he's online working and shows himself in Teams as busy, but he's never there. I was like, he probably's got 2 jobs. He's probably working here and getting a free paycheck while he's working another job. And she's like, I think you're right. And she's like been talking to him. She's been trying to get him like canned for like the last year, and he just can't because it's really hard for people to get Costa Rica. They don't do like PIPs before employee and performance something whatever. Right. To put them kind of like in a slap your wrist and 3 times or 2 times you're out kind of thing, like strikes. So I don't know, just weird how the world works. But yeah, another good podcast. I liked this podcast. It was cool talking about movies. We should do like a director inspired one, kind of like we did with like Kevin Smith, where we talk about his work and his movies and stuff. Maybe we could do like one of those next, like a director inspired one.
Yeah. We can figure them out. You know, we always come up with topics. So, you know, the topics for us are endless. You know, because we've only been doing this for a couple of years.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, we should probably have a lot more podcasts than we have now, but man,
it's just life, man. Life gets in the way. I know. I get sick, you get sick, you got shit to do, you got kids, I don't.
It's just every day, dude, there's something. Somebody up my ass about something. I need this done, need this done, blah, 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 blah. Where the so.
That's okay.
All right, buddy. Well, final thoughts. I think this was a good podcast. I just said final thoughts. I wish I had brought some other stuff in. I didn't really get to do that much homework because it was off the cuff, so that's why I was kind of all over the place with the movies, obviously. So I think next time I'll do a little bit more homework for whatever topic we have going on, because usually I'm pretty well versed when stuff's going on. It's just this one was kind of just like whatever comes off the dome comes up, so which is fine. But yeah, good podcast.
Yeah,
good talking to you.
Yeah,
looking forward to the next one. We are in spring, so but the next time we have one, it's going to be fucking ass hot outside.
It's going to be ass hot next week.
Yeah, I hope not. I'm not.
I'm not ready for it. I want to keep spring.
I'm enjoying this cool weather. I love it. I love it. Go outside, get some cool weather. Tell Jen to go outside and get some vitamin D. Yeah. When you give her some D. All right. I think that's it, kiddies. Right, Until next time. Yeah. Stay scared.
Always stay scared.
Don't stay scared.
Drink your coffee.
Drink your coffee. Make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. Smash that like button.
Tell your friends.
Tell your friends.
Not your black friends.
Exactly. Tell your family. Like our show. Like it again. And then tell us, in the comments why we suck. Or
listen to ourselves constantly.
Yeah. And then don't forget about checking out Friday nights the LCC radio, the boom for Tim's.
LCCC. 3 C's.
LCCC.
LCC.
WNBC.
Exactly.
Gotta carry out the N. WNBC. Yeah, pig vomit. I love that part.
Oh yeah, you gotta put that on place.
I'm gonna download that now.
Do it today, please. All right, guys. We'll see you later.
All right, see ya.
Later.